which is really, I think, pleasant considering the fact of how the team was built very last minute.
Well, I think we did a great job covering a lot of these teams. Shift, we will see you later, my man. But for now, it is about time we get ready to head into drop number 1. We're getting to lock in here, folks. Reminder, this is Group A versus Group B. We dubbed Group B yesterday being the group of death. And trying to come on in. Can they be able to perform here today? We had a couple of these squads that did struggle here, Enigma, and I'm not entirely sure if they can make it happen here today.
No, there's a lot of questions, right? And we are going to be talking about this all day. Who makes it on through to finals? We've several teams around the bubbles. We've got, for example, Team Destroy. We saw them up there on main stage. They're sat in 10th. They're still not comfortable. They're just one of many who absolutely must go massive. And we get them here on main screen, landing themselves top tower, lighthouse, whatever you want to call it. And Raul's trying to pick Skullface out of the sky.
Pistol's going to work. When you got a pistol like this in your back pocket, you are feeling strong. Couple nice little tags on his skull there. He'll be able to survive as he does go ahead and land. And well, we heard their interview here today. The Gaming Gladiator said, hey, we had a plan. We changed it up for some reason. We're going back to it. It looks like that plan is to play here at Prison.
Prison looking like a very busy spot, by the way. Rodrigo needs to take his moment to just get his plates in. Matty's in trouble as well, and Eisend is out of here. The trio could be well and truly wiped if they're not careful. It's very difficult to get wiped at the start of a game, but we did see it happen yesterday to Al-Ula. So just taking a moment here to reset. You've got yourself surrounded by the Gladiators and also some company from team players, on Guild.
Hi, there's just so many people around here. It looks like they've been able to regroup here, but I don't like necessarily how spread they are. We see Rodrigo go down again. Brolic and Jackal looking to make their way through the showers on the bottom, but King AJ laying in wait from Guild. Seeing, does anybody come out from this cell block area? I got this Holger in hand with a nice little long-range scope on it. Can definitely start frying if need to. So far, doesn't look like anybody comes in, but I believe that was a UAV that does get popped. Should give them the information they need of the players around them.
That is how they play it on out from there, and it's just patience from the Guild boys. Something that sometimes they can be egregious of not being, and well, plenty going on elsewhere as Jackal and Brolic find kills, but then are traded on out. Wars is going to push up, try and third party this, finds Matty. Got to be careful though, because he's likely going to have Eisend. Absolutely stabs. The UK man picks up a big two-piece here to get things going, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is patience rewarded, and that is kills deserved, and put themselves back on the board here. We said yesterday they got off to a really slow start.
Yep.
Picked things up towards the end. Honestly, probably saved themselves a little bit. How would you start today? And it looks a lot better.
Guild continuing the momentum from that last game that we saw yesterday. It was really beautiful, but back on the other side, look who's about to square off. It's AG Global and Team Falcons. I know the arena is hyped right now. We got Biffle laying in wait, waiting to see, will Castillo decide to go ahead and push, or will they back up? Looks like for now, maybe just trying to create a little bit of this kill box that we are used to. A little bit of a standoff there. But on the other side of the map, bioweapons, Al-Ula, we were looking for them to get a little aggro here. We saw them lose this contest off of the drop last game set, and here they are, doing a great job.
Absolutely. This is one of the things that we spoke to them about afterwards as well. You know, we saw them at the end of the day and talked about how things were going. They said they needed to lock down Bio more consistently, especially against that Vitality lineup. Doing a better job. Will be contested elsewhere, but looks like King AJ here wants every bit of action that's going on around Prison, pushes himself and the rest of his guild boys up onto the rooftop. There are going to be a couple players inside Prison, but we've spoken about this landmark in particular. No surprise to anyone. Very important. Sits smack bang in the middle of the map. Biggest building there. But also, it's seeing so many teams use this as a transitional point for those smaller circles later on.
Yeah, I think if you can manage to hold this, you can just look at so much of the map from that top Prison area, right? But look at this, Tommy. He's about to push on in. You're starting to see some shots come flying on out. A player just kind of laying in wait, trying to set the trap, but Tommy does not commit. He's too smart for you and these plays. But look who it is. It's Drake. Some good shots coming out from Tommy. He gets in a couple bit of tags and doesn't want to commit to this fight. I love what he's doing here. Consistently just moving around, maybe trying to get some of the teammates to come on in. Drake's still sitting here. Juki tries to throw the shoulder, flying on out. Look at us! Is able to bring them on down. Holding this in is Team Icons, but it's not going to be for free. Tommy tries to fly on in, but the trades are there.
Yeah, it's rough if you are Juki's and Tommy there. You just get split in a maze of corridors and doors. doorways. Lennon's floating above, just trying to give out any information that he can, but it does not happen. And that lovely bit of information there we get to show the loadouts are coming in, ladies and gentlemen, as we move here through Circle 2. On board with one of the teams that we talked about a little bit at the top of the show, Twisted Minds. They've looked really good throughout this. However, one of the things I will say, they actually didn't finish as highly as I thought they would. Only 11th through day one.
They had that kind of banger sort of first map set. They were feeling great. We started watching them go a little bit crazy, but it seems like as the day went on, maybe lost a little bit of steam. But knowing them, we saw how energetic Aiden was with the camera on him, giving out some screens, hyping themselves up. You know that Smith and Knight are feeling that by his side as they look to move on in. Getting a little bit to the end of Circle Zone 2, we've already lost 2 different teams, being Team Izund and the Icons. So they are both been eliminated. You hate to see that. Where can we go else on the map?
Well, Liam here looking to just provide some coverage. And well, we spoke a lot about how they impressed yesterday, but they did slow up afterwards. They ended up being put into 16th. A kill coming up in the feed there, by the way. Duzamir finding himself a pick onto Skullface. That's a definite turning of the tide from yesterday, because it was awful for AG Globals and brilliant for Fnatic. But Dongi here has a lot of players in front of him. This is Alula trying to recover, but Dongi finds himself his 9th kill. Absolutely cooking. Get off to the same start he did yesterday. Thermite goes on out. It's just a range of kills, but Dongi wants all the smoke, and Dongi's considering pushing Vitality next.
I love this. Dongi looking to get aggressive, pushes up here into this regain building, and knows that there's a team on the other side. Does not feel the need to get super aggro, but provides enough damage onto Enxian that they can kind of take this space. But a little bit of a 2v1 happening here, but Penzuka will get taken out. Enxian jumped off the back, left his teammate in the 2v1. Now they could just swing out and get this. Enxian now on the back foot, trying to be able to hit that crate, maybe get a revive from your team on in quickly, and it's not going to be enough. Enxian take it down. Stuo, the last one left alive for Team Vitality.
Summed up one of the gaps that sometimes appears in Vitality's play there. There is a communication barrier between the three, with different nationalities, different languages coming in through, and sometimes they just mistime things. You can see that happen there, although I'm not sure if Enxian actually just makes a mistake by accidentally jumping off there and leaving Patsuka out to dry. But I tell you what, Singapore Syndicate will not care. They clean that on up. And we go on over to our Falcons, and there's a lot of conversations throughout yesterday about how they weren't really making the noise we expected, and then dropped that absolute banger in the second half of the day, put themselves in top spot. What I will say, their landing position, yesterday they were leaving Soka over in Stronghold by himself, the other two going roaming around. This time, a bit more passive. They all went to Stronghold, assessed the situation, and have slowly moved on forward.
That's actually really a lot of the game plan of this team. Whether it's a big map, whether it's this map, they'll usually take a map or two to kind of assess the situation. How does the map go ahead and play? They're not this team that comes out and just fries immediately from the start. It's going to be 1 or 2 huge banger games that gets them into the conversation. And when you drop 25 eliminations and take the dub to drop 50 points, you're feeling pretty good. They could literally basically drop zeros all day today and probably still qualify to Saturday. That's the ridiculous part of it. So well, hopefully they can kind of maybe come online a little bit earlier, because whether it's even just for the points, you want to do it for the fans.
Oh, absolutely. Falcons fans are here in plenty in the STC arena. Moving over to Fnatic, this is a team that has definitely improved here at the EWC as opposed to their World Series performances. That boot camp that they had in London coming in clutch for sure. We move on over to Shifty, just teasing Zephyr a little bit, and he's eyeing the skies as well as Levi looks to come on in. Won't be given much opportunity because those are multiple bullet trails chasing after him.
That Holger 26 just hits like a truck, and well, you even see Shifty doesn't need a rocket optic on it, just full iron sights, still cross-mapping kids like it's another day in the office. But SGP Syndicate on the other side, still here, still fighting. They find Lennon in the water, brings on down. Jukis is able to kind of find an elimination on Stuo though, with the pistol in hand. Believe kind of trying to play with the team. You can see Intex on the other side, all the way over at Chemical right now, I believe, a little bit far away from the team. Hopefully they can meet back on up and continue playing through the map.
I mean, what I will say from all of this, by the way, Dongi is absolutely frying. But Believe here just has Biffle over the other side and actually considers the bunker buster, but Biffle springs up to say hello. Believe trying to play whack-a-mole with a bunker buster and actually catches a mortar a little bit here. Trying to get nice and aggressive, and we're going to get ourselves a replay of this ridiculous Raid of Terror from Dongi.
Yeah, I love that. Look at just this, an elimination on the Jukies, and it's just the aggression for him to kind of fly forward, and a little bit of a patience here, kind of stopping this third party from coming on in. That is why you pick up this young man, right? I mean, everybody knows Dongy's the Slayer. Colm called him Dong Wick. I'm not really attached to that name yet or not, but he's obviously making it happen here. 13 eliminations for his team. A great way to start the second day of groups.
Absolutely. The only thing I will say, the only caveat, while this is brilliant, we saw him get off to that really hot start yesterday, and then he slowed down through the afternoon. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. But right now, that is definitely a positive. 13 kills in the bank at this point. And his team leading the way in the entire lobby when it comes to kills, slightly ahead of Falcons, who are on 14. Destroy in a spot spot there. Nate Dogg trying to provide a little bit of overwatch, but it might be a smarter move to back on off here because it looks like Destroy has fallen. So Nate Dogg and Raul to try and set up some sort of crossfire between them on this prison roof. They will indeed have company coming in from Na'Vi and potentially players arriving as well from Guild.
We know that Destroy loves to play this. We saw kind of yesterday, Nate Dogg was taking that tower, and then you had Destroy and Raul playing the small side, as I like to call it, of prison, kind of locking down both sides of the map. Anybody pushes up through those stairs, you got Nate Dogg able at least even just to make the comms to the teammates. You got someone making their way through the small side of stairs or up that scaffolding on the side. They are ready to sit there and hold. Nate Dogg had the sniper in hand and can hold it on down. It looks like that strategy, though, is kind of struggling to come online here just because of some of the other teams we've seen that are trying to vie for prison, Fnatic being the main culprit.
They are indeed. I'll tell you what, the performance that they have put on yesterday really raised a lot of questions about how they are currently in LCQs for World Series. Definitely looking like every bit the side we thought they would be when they came together. It feels like for a rare moment here, we get a moment to breathe. Levi, though, will have a lot of company as we see the Singapore Syndicate fly around the corner, clean up Zephyr. Levi surely next, and Limax's only option is to try and escape here. Does catch a thermite, got to slip these plates in, and you got to time this correctly or else you're not getting your boys back in.
I mean, Limax was the last one alive. SGP, they could easily fly forward and try and bring down Limax. You can see here, thankfully to our amazing CODcaster, looks like Limax was able to somehow make this wrap out through the tunnel and keep his life here. So a little bit of a moment of respite if you are Na'Vi. You're not taken out just yet. Now, as a reminder, folks, Resurgence is closed. So anybody that is getting eliminated from here on out, sorry, you're not coming back on in. There is no timer. Unless you have a teammate that can magically hit a buy station, buy you back.
Yeah, by the way, zone pull is going to be absolutely massive here. It's dragging everyone off between Factory and Harbor. And guess which two teams are there? Two teams we've spoken so highly about when it comes to positioning. Na'Vi have tried to recover there, but we're going to see Twisted Minds taking a hold of it as well. So everyone now that you're currently seeing try and scramble from prison could well land themselves in front of this AG Global lineup, and it's going to get mixing.
Ooh, all right, AG Global. Dark is the last one alive, trying to make it happen. Finds one, finds two, but look who's still alive. Almond, he's around here somewhere. Top prison, it looks like, actually, trying to take a fight. So at least Dark, you're able to find the eliminations. This was the question mark for this team. Dark has to be the Slayer and really go huge. So the fact that he's able to find eliminations while also trying to crawl up the placements is really, really solid. Now, Enigma, here's the thing about this zone. I'm getting a little bit of deja vu. We saw this exact zone yesterday, right? Twisted Minds, they're sticking to their game plan. They have grabbed not one, but two of the only buildings in zone.
They have indeed, and they're on 11 kills already, so every bit of kill that they pick up from this point is going to be massive. Just trying to keep an eye on what Allman's trying to play here. Skullface just sitting and watching, and you could see from the face cam there, just trying to guide Allman as to where he goes, using the gondola to get himself across. He's going to land onto BSL, who have tucked themselves away in a corner. Bagel, Liam having to back on off. They don't know that it's just Allman, so Allman will actually get the kill and potentially the loot, but then he is found and wiped from the board by Twisted Minds.
Twisted Minds, the positioning paying on off. They do get taken out. Fnatic is there. Twisted Minds still alive, but I'm looking at SGP Syndicate right now, because I'm looking at our scores, and they have an insane amount of eliminations. 23 so far. Still 6 teams left. Do we see somebody beat the Falcons score in game number 1?
Believe here has to just play placement for me. He's on the 5, just get himself into those multipliers. Remember, you got to get to that second, and he's just got AJ on the other side. The thermite, does it catch? No, it's just going to be floor damage. AJ will escape. For a second there, it looked like it actually stuck to him.
Yeah, I thought he did.
I like this play here. Just hunker down, let everyone else fight, and just try and mop up any remaining pieces.
the outside, though, Twisted Minds. You got BSL kind of coming in, being a little bit annoying. BSL, a squad known for just being annoying to some of our top teams. Aiden gets a little bit stuck on the stairs there, flies on forward. Knight, though, will be able to secure it, and that is a squad wipe on BSL. They are taken out, but Twisted Minds in return get deleted. Believe goes down. I believe in third. I think they did it. Falcons here trying to be able to push Guild. Soka going to be able to do it. Team Falcons take game number 1.
Of course, who else but the undeniable, indomitable Team Falcons to take our map 1 here on group stages day 2. Continuing with what was an impressive run throughout the back half of yesterday. All the questions are being answered. As usual here, we are so used to talking about this side. There's a reason why we're floating the Dynasty tag around. It doesn't happen often here in Warzone, but these three could well and truly seal their destiny after this Esports World Cup.
Brother, I mean, I want to give Falcons all the credit for being able to close that one on out, but brother, we got to talk about SGP Syndicate. Believe staying alive there to be able to get to that top 3 placement. They had an insane amount of eliminations, and they're able to take that multiplier and run with it. I can't wait to see where they are after that first map, but one thing that's scary to me, though, is Team Falcons winning a game number 1. We know this is a very momentum-based team. We talked about it sort of in the middle of that game, that it takes a little bit for them to heat up. I don't know if they need time to heat up today, man. It looks like they're coming out swinging.
Well, that's the scary thing, right? Because when it was AVB yesterday, and we've spoken about how AVB is the clash of the 2 biggest groups, they were struggling a little bit, right? Especially early on. I think that they were actually finding their route from Stronghold out towards Factory, contested by, of all teams, BSL. But it seems that they've, you know, gone away, assessed the VOD, and it looked like yesterday they figured that out as well, right? In Group B, so they have themselves that luxury, shall we say. Some people are struggling with it, but they seem to be prospering, where you've got 2 games, you can go away and assess and come back in for your next 2. They clearly learned a few things and then have come into today with some more knowledge.
Well, let's take a look at those final moments of that game. You can see Believe there on the bottom of that zone. I love this fly cam we have in the sky because it paints the perfect picture. You can see Believe, it's actually a C4 by the hands of Soka that brings him on down. And unfortunately, if you are King AJ from Guild, it's just not enough to stay alive. And you got all 3 members of the Falcons flying at you.
No, it's just never going to be enough when you've got those 3 boys coming around the corner, right? That's just not what you want to see. But you do pick up second if you're Guild. You got to be pretty happy with that. But let's go back to Believe there, Singapore Syndicate, and what he managed to pull off. Because I think that they were in line for like the 1.2 times multiplier by the time his 2 teammates drop on out. And they manages to see a squad all the way through to 3rd. So picking up a couple of extra points along the way, as we well know here in Warzone, every single one of those will matter when we get to our end stages.
And I feel like the thing to note there is that even if you don't hit multiplier, the 20 points there is still feeling insane. So I know we got some amazing people on the desk ready to break all of that down. So we're going to kick it back to our studio to give you all of the information.
All right, thank you, Dandro. Enigma, that's game number 1. Don, A, and B just competed against each other, and it was absolutely brutal. Team Falcons take the win. They were already in first, but I guess they're going to be a bit greedy today. They want more.
I mean, they show up when it matters. Day 3, and they get the first win. Yesterday, it took them a couple games to get it going, but they get the massive one, and they actually changed things up heading in towards today. Yesterday, they were having some trouble against BSL. Today, they switch up their rotation.
Yes.
They move into Control Center. They don't have to worry about BSL. They just all eyes forward into any team that they can punish realistically, and it leads them into the comfort zone of playing towards that circle, in towards the end game. If they have all 3 members in the end game, I'd say 9 times out of the 10 they win.
I want to talk a little bit more about those rotations when we come back. We did have a chance this morning to talk to the Falcons. Let's send it over to them and hear what they had to say.
What's up, everybody? We're outside the STC Arena, and as you can see, the Falcons just arrived. Before you take the stage, I want to hit you up with a few questions. Can we start with you? Hisoka, what is going on this tournament? How did you guys lock up the #1 spot after day 1 of group stages?
I mean, after day 1 of group stages, we knew we kind of played bad the first half, the first 2 games. So then when we went back to the drawing board, figured out what we did wrong, and then we fixed it, and we had a banger game, and we ended up in first.
Speaking of bangers, I see the headphones on. What are we listening to? What gets you in the zone?
Nipsey Hussle, baby, always.
Always Nipsey Hussle. Let's take it over this way to the lead slayers. We got Biffle, we got Shifting. I want to start with you, Big Biff. How do we feel about day 1, and how do you keep that energy coming in here to day 3?
I think a lot of the energy is going to be coming from the crowd because we're sitting right in front of them. So, you know, I know Shifty gets them riled up. So I'm sure the crowd will get us going. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for another domination, day.
Talk to me about this crowd, Shifty, because they love you, man. Everyone is cheering on Falcons, Falcons. It's the only thing you hear when you guys are on the main stage. How did you get the support, and what are you doing to keep them so energized?
I mean, I just love it. I'm feeding off of them. They're always just chanting our names, and I just get up and I just start crowd working. I mean, to be at an event like this, honestly, the first time I think Warzone's ever had like a home crowd like this, and we just so happen to be the home team. I'm making the most out of it. It's just very fun, and I'm just enjoying the moment.
All right, I do have to ask you guys, since you're at the top of the leaderboard, you seem to be safe. Even if you bomb out of your 4 games today, a lot of people are saying they could probably still get in. But other teams are in a much tougher position. Hisoka, I want to come to you on this one. Who do you expect to move up or down the leaderboard? Because we had teams like iZone winning some big games. We had a big shocker with Game of Gladiators all the way at the bottom of the leaderboard after day 1. What do you see happening here in the second day of groups?
I think the team name's AG, maybe Deuce Amir in them, and the Adams. I think they're gonna move down. They keep trying to hold us like they do. Well, we're gonna give them hell. So,
Amir, stop dropping on this man, and maybe you can climb that leaderboard. I know he's got a ton of fans, and so do you guys. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us out front.
All right, thank you, Puckett, for that interview. Great to hear from the Falcons, and good to see them flying high today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, loving the crowd energy. And I mean, Hisoka saying that they had a bad day 1, but coming in when it matters. Oh, slays all around. But the positioning, the adjustments, and the plays, guys, I mean, that was perfect for them.
Perfect indeed. As we take a look at our highlights, Seymour, I go back to you discussing the changes that they had to make to hit that home a little bit harder, because I at least from my perspective, I noticed the first 2 games they played yesterday, Seymour, they were landing in Stronghold, they were rotating up through tents, and then eventually going over towards Factory. You mentioned they were going against BSL consistently, and they consistently were getting top 8, they get a win, then top 7. They had to change something, because even though they get a win with a 50-point game, something still needed to be changed.
Yeah, and you saw a change right there. It seems like BSL or the Falcons' kryptonite. And in what way does Superman get away from kryptonite? It's just keeping as far away from it as he possibly can.
That's it, yeah.
So they changed their rotation fully, and it pays off immediately with a game win that should shoot them even further up that first place spot. It should basically determine they're going to be in our next day. They're going to be in that playoffs as well. But, I mean, we got to talk about other teams. And I think Dongy is a big discussion that we need to talk about because yesterday he was getting the 11 kills in game number 1. He starts off today with another big game for SGP. I think that's exactly what SGP needed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And how many clutch plays did Believe have, right? He was roaming around Chemical, kind of doing his thing, but he was playing Disruptor, and I believe at one point did actually take Biffle down. But for Intex and Believe playing like safety while Dongy just kind of was going off, I mean, that was, I think Dandro called it out. It was like at one point 23 eliminations, probably the highest. But you had mentioned they have one more game. This is a spot that was solidified for SGP.
SGP looking great in game number 1 already. And also a team that was looking even better was Fnatic, a team that could very well qualify as it currently sits, Dream.
Yeah, no, I was going to say Z-Dark, right? That was mentioned from Hisoka, like they're going to move down, but Z-Dark, right? He was positioned, I believe it was on Grandma's, right? He took down 2 members of Fnatic, but how smart was it of Allman to stay alive as long as he did, at least picking up 1 elimination and moving up in the placements?
Yeah, Allman, he loves that tower. He goes up top, he snipes it out, and then he went eventually to top prison. He made it happen, and ultimately had to rotate off because of the gas, but that's just the way it goes. Still secured a phenomenal game. Well, that's game number 1. Let's head into game number 2. Get the casters going, because I'm ready to start and see how A and B is going to finish.
Well, Taylor, I'm right there with you. We have one more game of Group A versus Group B, and boy, if that was the way we kicked off the first match, I cannot wait to see how does this second match end on. Now, overall rankings here, Enigma, let's take a look at this leaderboard. What is jumping off the page to you?
I think it's got to be SGP Syndicate making that massive jump from 8th into 3rd, taking themselves away from that bubble conversation, away from being worried about how the rest of this afternoon plays out, and putting your destiny well and truly in your own hands here, almost solidifying their own qualification. We are estimating that 100 points will be enough to get you through to tomorrow, and they have now crossed that threshold. But let's get ourselves locked in then. Final game of AVB here for Map 2, Esports World Cup, Call of Duty Warzone, baby. And we are already off to a flyer.
I just know the STC SGC Arena is absolutely buzzing with energy right now. Not only because of that Team Falcons win, because this is some of the best Call of Duty Warzone we've seen in a minute. Map number 2, Group A versus Group B. We are feeling good almost through our first start of the day. Yesterday started off a little bit slow. Not the case here today. So let's see, where are some of our squads going to be dropping right out of the plane? What contests do we see? As I'm looking at a couple of these squads, they're sticking to their game plan from map number 1.
They are a lot of them, and honestly, I'm a little bit concerned about that for Amir and Co. We'll come back to that later because Juki's going to be contested yet again by Vitality here over by Bioweapons. And actually, both teams have sent just 2 players here, potentially trying to avoid entire team squad wipes, as we saw happen yesterday. Tatsuka's just going to hold this middle room. This was the top Slayer in solos, a player who I spoke to in the elevator, actually, in the hotel, and he said Resurgence doesn't suit us. A lot of teams looking at these guys no longer as an underdog, but more of like a dark horse contender, but apparently they're just not finding their feet here just yet.
BSL, we saw them take this fight at sort of the end game of that last time, and well, they are here now at the beginning of the game as Bagel flies forward, Sidewinder in hand, takes down Aiden. BSL causing some trouble, being a thorn in the side for Twisted Minds yet again.
Liam will finish off Gorgo and will get himself some loot to spare. So 2v1, potentially 3v1 situations. Twisted Minds try and recover. Whether or not they send that yet again. Juki's gets bullets in the back, and we'll have just a moment to plate. And look who's arriving. It's the new Icons looking to try and essentially third-party this situation. Juki's stuck between a rock and a hard place as Enxian and Patsuka squeeze him and apply the finishing move. New Icons trying to make it mix in. They're not the only teams. The Singapore Syndicate are arriving in numbers.
Oh, this is not what you like to see. 3-party, 4th party. Let's see what happens. Drake trying to be able to hit the slide cancel, but it's a little bit hard when it's a 2v1, but look who's from behind. It's Lukinas, who's able to kind of make some trades going on in. So a flurry of eliminations happening here at Bioweapons as Enxian seems to be the only player from Vitality still alive, but it's hard to survive when you got the double chow of Believe and his friend.
I gotta say, the way they've played that out is beautiful. Believe and Dongi essentially go off by themselves, push this, trying to essentially third-party this entire building, whereas Intex, he's anchored off towards Chem. He's stayed out of the fight just in case his 2 boys lose it, and of course they don't because they are absolutely cooking this afternoon.
I actually really like that Intex staying over there at Chemical for one reason and one reason alone. If they do lose that fight at Bioweapons and they have to regain, Chemical has just so much loot available to it that you can kind of land back on in. They can kind of feel good about their weapons, and if they want to push back on over to Bio and maybe take another 3rd party, maybe actually get some revenge, they possibly could. So I love that they're able to do that, but I love that we see this in the SEC arena. The zone is shrinking now. Players, they got to start to move as the zone kind of pulls a little bit towards that southwest.
It does indeed, and that would mean everyone that was fighting over by Bio and Chem have got a bit of a rotation on their hands, and Destroy here themselves trying to hit their own rotation up through headquarters. Got to consider though, there's a lot of rooftops around it. You're also kind of exposed, and Destroy has company here. You're going to have Fnatic pushing on up. Clash between 2 Titans, you feel, but Destroy actually just going to check on out, regroup with his teammate here, try and set up some sort of crossfire. Skullface and Noob flying just across the road.
Yeah, trying to look over there towards that grandma's house, a little bit up here towards what I like to call grandpa's, because, well, they're right next to each other, so that's A-okay.
That's cute.
Yeah, it's a little bit, you know? So they're trying to just go ahead and hold on here. A little bit of a breathing moment, it feels like, here in the map as the kill feed lights on up as I say that. As they go on through. Noobs, Fnatic, Almond and Skullface, teammates nearby already. They're just kind of maybe trying to grab a little bit of a hold. Currently sitting on 4 eliminations already, though. Falcons currently sitting on the boat, as we've seen them do outside of Factory, moving on in. Could potentially run into BSL here, though.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is one of the kryptonite factors that they were facing yesterday. Seymour just called out down on the desk, and it definitely wouldn't have been something that we would have expected, but this playstyle that they have, Soka sits in Stronghold, Shifty and Biff will go off on their merry way, and they were actually running straight through AG Global to do that this afternoon with BSL with a trouble, but it doesn't seem like they're having that problem today after winning map 1, but Dongi here, a lot of company in industry, and we'll find Tommy and Alula here. He got off to a solid start over by Bio, but not going to be enough as Dongi snaps. Dongi spins, Dongi shuts down Lennon, and continues doing his impressive Map 1 performance and also going to go back and pick up his teammate Intex.
Hey, I don't know if we got any first responders or medical people here in the building, but you might want to go give Lennon some ankle tape because his ankles do not exist anymore. They are deleted. That clip alone probably shows why Dongi went huge in that last map.
Vitality, by the way, looking to third party this, looking to essentially squeeze, but it's going to be far too late. You're going to have your Singapore Syndicate set up and able to push on out. Stuo gets backed on down towards the beaches. So Enxi and Patsuka are trying to push this themselves, and we saw last time that just didn't work out for them. So we've got to be very careful about how they approach this. Moving back on towards Guild. They did a good job around Prison last time, looking to repeat that here in Map 2.
Love that they're able to do that. They made it towards the end. We saw King AJ try and win that last final fight. It just wasn't enough, though. They had a great map yesterday. Looking to do the same here today. We see King AJ getting a little bit aggressive. We'll answer back on to this Team Vitality. This Team Vitality is an enigma. They haven't been able to really find it this game.
No, it's just not been a strong start, and they were sat in 12th coming into this afternoon. Their kills were actually pretty good, averaging 10.5 across the afternoon. However, an average placing of 8th. So they're just not getting themselves through to those late stages. When you're getting put in a blender like that by Guild, you can see exactly why. And speaking of which, Guild here on your screen, and no surprise that Prison is going to be hotly contested. One of the teams that has moved into this area, Dandro, the SGP Syndicate, and we know what they've been doing.
Yeah, SGP Syndicate. Now, the one thing I hope, I just don't want them to overheat a little bit. It's easy to kind of get in your own head to try and maybe think that you're the kings of the lobby. Nobody can stop you. Next thing you know, you're kind of getting slammed, and it's not very fun. So Vitality a little bit on the regain here towards that ammo stash house that I called. As you can see, Enxi and Patsuka starting to make their way up towards that prison. One thing to note here, we got Twisted Minds. They've kind of laid home to the factory. They're holding on in as they, I believe, your kill leaders so far this lobby on 8.
Yeah, indeed. Singapore Syndicate sit on 7, Falcons on 8, and Eisen here needs to make something happen. He has to himself, finds the third, but Rodrigo falls in the background, so he's got to try and provide coverage. Matty here trying to hit the res. We'll get it on through, which will give them a moment to just reset. Put a surprise story on our screen here of yesterday, but so map 1, we didn't really see too much in the way of positive news. And we get a flick on over. We find Fnatic. We talked about how impressive they looked yesterday. And you've got one player providing coverage from the Lighthouse, and you've also got players going towards top prison, and Skullface finds Liam.
I think Skull's looking to get a little aggro. Yeah, you find the down. You want to be able to get that cleanup. Immediately turns his sights towards Factory. Knight's on top. Has to scurry away a little bit, Skull. Staying a little bit patient here, saying, you want to check this again? You want to throw me a shoulder here, bud? I'll make sure you don't make that happen. Love the beauty of the trophy that we see there. What everybody is competing for. We're looking for our top 14 teams to make it to finals to have their chance to hoist that themselves.
There we are indeed. 4 teams out here by Circle 3. Those 4 teams being Al Ula, one of the bubble squads that we're talking about. The Gaming Gladiators that continue to struggle. The Singapore Syndicate that had a great game last time out, but fall here. And then the new Icons, again, another little bit of a surprise yesterday, but slow start here on day 2. And those sides will sit and watch on as we see Guild here get pushed up close and actually take a stun, and the stun actually connects with everybody. Skullface escapes as such. Wars is here to reach out. AJ and Vision to try and push on up.
Noobs, though, on the outside. You see kind of a little bit of a battle here with Stukex. The smoke goes down, hits some shots through it. We'll be able to find Stukex. Noobs doing a great job of playing a little of the old bait and switch, as I like to call it. The smoke coming on out, thinking that he's just trying to be able to play for some cover, not expecting bullets to come on through, but look at this, King AJ laying in wait, trying to be able to sneak their way, maybe potentially onto the roof. Guild making a similar play like we saw from them yesterday.
Yeah, indeed. The one problem is you've got Allman sat in that tower watching on over, so you've got to be careful about how you push that one out. Na'Vi, the squad that I said we should be watching out for, are pushing their way through the living quarters region. And they've actually got company in Team Destroy. You might well have company as well from Team Falcon, so all of a sudden you're trapped between a rock and a hard place because Destroy's going to return some fire. Actually, I agree with this play. Get out, regroup with your teammate. You've got Raul available to you, and Nate Dogg still has 10 seconds of resurgence time.
Yeah, I like this. Kind of Destroy. They make a little bit of a heat check, and they say, we don't want to commit to this. We don't have to spend our time trying to take this fight. Let's go ahead. Let's back on up to this building, sort of regroup as a team, figure out what we want to do. We can see Bagel does get taken out by the Twisted Minds, and, well, Na'Vi for now. They got control of this big building, but the Falcons are lurking. They are on the hunt.
And that is a terrifying phrase for absolutely anybody. And you got to think that after coming out on top yesterday and then absolutely smashing through map 1, that leash that they might have been on from Soka trying to anchor might have been lengthened just a little bit. And have your fun boys with through to tomorrow. That's what matters. Biffle here looking to play through control center. There's actually going to be no one relatively nearby. So that gives you a moment to loot up and ensure you have everything you need to consider endgame.
Yeah, they basically have this entire outside of zone on the sort of northwest side of the map completely to themselves, all right? So we have a couple of teams, though, that are starting to make their way into zone. A lot of buildings that you can hold on through here. Team Destroy kind of trying to grab a couple of these houses. We have Na'Vi grabbing the main big one. BSL looks like they've laid it in the water. They're trying to make some sort of regain. Twisted Minds, though, they've opted towards that factory side to try and hold out some of these people, maybe having to come down from headquarters.
One of the rotations that is going to be very difficult here with Twisted Minds being set up is going to be over from that living quarters, and we know that we have Team Destroy over there. We also know that we have Na'Vi. Twisted Minds just try and keep an eye on things. Then again, apologies, next circle could actually squeeze up. So Twisted Minds trying to edge their bets a bit by just sitting one side and hoping it pulls towards them. We saw that same kind of look for Na'Vi yesterday, and actually on the other side of the circle. So if luck repeats itself, then they will have their own rotation. Shifty here, top tower, looking on over. It feels like you've got an ant's nest just below you, but when do you strike? When do you kick it and send everyone sprawling?
Yeah, I love that they're kind of sitting up here. It feels like Falcons potentially could maybe make a really easy third party between Guild and Vitality if that does break on out. Vitality just kind of hanging on out here, waiting for Guild to kind of throw the shoulder, peek there, head on out. Maybe you get a good angle, but a little bit of just wait right now. But look at this, Team Falcons. They made their way to the top of this building. They're looking to get a little aggressive here, Enigma, as this is going to be an absolute bloodbath if we see this break on out.
It is. And the thing is as well, the Falcons aren't even in zone yet, but I just don't think they care, because Shifty, he's on 7. He's tearing through anything that steps out in front of him. You got to assume that you can hear that Guild lineup just beneath you. And look who's arriving there. Vitality just going to be scurrying underneath, and Shifty actually spots one, gets the crack, but not the finish. The stun will connect. Covering stun, whoever that was, just saved their teammate's life. And Shifty and Go trying to escape here, but will take bullets in the back, and the circle, is squeezing. You've only got moments here, and you've got to assess your situation and fly.
Yeah, I really want to see what the Falcons are going to do here. You're playing in the zone. You're taking a lot of damage right now. Gas mask only for Biffle and Soka right now. So Shifty will start taking a little bit of that as they're able to hold on to the side. Guild also kind of playing a similar situation here, knowing that maybe they can bring down the Falcons. I'm worried, though, Enigma, if either of these teams need to make it on down, you have a lot of squads that are looking up at you.
You do. Falcons buy themselves some time with the PDS plays, but the problem you have is at some point you've got to move, and if any team is set up and waiting for you to arrive, you're just going to be a sitting duck. And Twisted Minds, again, set up in good positions. There is another PDS coming out of the Falcons. And actually, zone will pull slightly more favorable, but they've just got to continue to buy time for now. Yet another PDS. C4 goes out. We've lost Shifty. Soka and Biffle will have to do it by themselves if they're going to repeat, and Soka's looking to push.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we were kind of worried about, with that Guild is going to try and hold them on through, but it kind of looks like a little bit of a third party from Na'Vi. They're going to go ahead and wipe that team off of the map. This is, I don't know, this is just feeling awkward. I mean, I'm looking at our mini-map over here. Team Falcons, they are literally still on the other side of headquarters trying to get the buy off.
Must have been running about 19 PDSs to make this work, I'll be completely honest. There was a couple of comments on the timeline yesterday, and Shifty comes back in and lands directly on top of Twisted Minds. Knight's making a lot of noise, but might not be aware that Shifty's slightly above him. Got to be careful, because you've also got players arriving from Na'Vi. You're going to have Destroy just sacking on the edge here, just hoping to pick things up. Aiden's going to get pushed. Aiden takes plenty of damage from the PA, and as the PA rings back out again, there's just enough coverage, but Levi finds Shifty.
Destroy looking to move their way on in. Bunker Buster dealing some insane damage. Soka just trying to play his life. Snakes are in. The form looks good. You see Knight down below. Soka will go ahead, clean that up. Levi taken on out. He is just absolutely reaping the rest of this lobby. Yet again, back to back. Yeah, give them the praise. Give them the hype. They are here. I think they ended that game on 15, 16. I'm seeing 15, baby. 30-point game, back-to-back dubs. We were questioning how many games are going to take for them to heat up. Yeah, it's going to take 0.
I mean, this is just ridiculous at this point. It does not matter what format, what map, what mode, we just see these boys fly. Falcons on top here for the first 2 games of the day. But there were so many questions after the first two yesterday, whether or not they could fly, whether or not they could make things happen, and it turns out that they have absolutely no troubles today. I thought they were going to be in so much trouble at one point there, but the PDS plays come on out. They make the rotation happen and just let everyone else scramble around fights while they needed to find their form, and they executed that brilliantly.
You know, I was talking to a couple of the other talent from some of the other games, and they were like, you know, the Team Falcons, they kind of started yesterday a little bit slow. They're like, oh, they weren't doing that good. And I was like, yeah, well, they had their one banger game, and that's what matters. When you look at these two first games, though, it is hard to not feel the dominance starting to emerge. They are good for those first two games, and they still got two more to play. So here's my question to you, Enigma. Do they continue the dominance? Do they take all 4 games of their groups?
It's a tale as old as time. It is terrifying once they start to hit this kind of form. Like, even when they had those games yesterday, even in everything that happened in solos, you and me were kind of looking at each other and going, yeah, but how many times have we said this over the last year, right? The thing is, this was a ridiculous team way before they brought in Soka instead of Sage. And look at the positioning here, just over the top. They've used those PDS plays to buy themselves so long to then take high ground and just watch out on over and essentially third, fourth, fifth party that entire situation. It's just clinical brilliance yet again from our Falcons.
Well, and I think the thing we need to talk about, right, is sort of that skirmish with Guild. I actually think it's basically Na'Vi kind of basically hands that to Falcons on a silver platter, since Guild, they were positioned great to kind of take this fight against the Falcons, but it looks like it was Limax just finding 1 or 2 of those, and Falcons basically found a couple players down on the ground, and they're like, oh, okay, we got this for free? Sick. I love this. I love being given position and height in the game for just absolutely zero cost, zero opportunity. But that is also off the back at that insane gas wrap to be able to get the buyback on Shifty.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. They bring in those PDS plays. They wrap themselves back towards that gas station. And we keep saying it's like their signature play. They do it all the time. But every time they do, it's just outrageous where they execute them with no issues whatsoever and continue to see things through.
Well, I know someone who's going to be very happy, and that is Dream Crazy, as Falcons were her pick to win the event. They're looking good. Let's send it back to the analysts to see what they have to say.
All right, thank you, Dandro. Enigma, yeah, Dream, come on, the Falcons, right? I mean, look, a team that came in and is now dominating 2 games in a row, and to my knowledge, the only team to win 2 games in a row so far.
Yeah, you know, Go just probably streaming too, but come on now. I mean, like, when that confidence, that momentum keeps going for them, that's crazy. But for the longest time, you guys, let's talk about Guild. Guild looked like the team to play spoiler alert, and we thought, oh man, this is like that they might be done, right?
Yeah.
But staying alive so long, those PDS plays, and then of course Na'Vi, right? They literally played Disruptor.
A lot of teams to talk about, Infinity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's just a lot. I think, you know, Guild got involved in a lot of fights there. There were a couple of key engagements. I think we're going to get talk in depth about one in just a second here between Falcons and Guild, in which Guild played incredibly smart. Guys, I'm going to be honest, that might be a telestrator moment for later on down the line. But also, it's worth saying that Guild, they actually managed to get control of Prison this time around throughout the mid game, right? Generally speaking, you expect Fnatic to be able to do that.
Right.
Guild were the team to do so. They pushed Fnatic into an uncomfortable position, getting control of the map. I think Guild are a lot more comfortable today than they were yesterday.
Yeah, Fnatic getting pushed off of Prism was quite a shock. That's almost, I think, the second time. The first time was Almond actually getting pushed off, but that was by gas, not necessarily a team. Guild, though, push them off. Fnatic, though, still in a very healthy spot, you'd have to say. But let's talk about one of those key moments, right? And that's SGP versus Na'Vi. Seymour, what was going on?
Yeah, it was back in game number 1. SGP and Na'Vi were going head-to-head for a very long time. And yesterday we saw in the standings that they were side by side. I'm pretty sure it was the 7th and 8th place. So the two of them going at it today has big implications for, you know, how this day is going to pay out, especially for Group A that doesn't have a lot of time. You see SGP swinging in, Na'Vi knowing they're in trouble, especially considering how ruthless Dongy has been in those couple of games. You're trying to get away, but with SGP breathing down your neck, eventually they go down and they die. And it's just something to say, with SGP turning up the way they are, Na'Vi has to be careful to not fall down the list, especially with only 2 more games left. You see it out of Twisted Minds yesterday. You don't want that out of 2 teams who are performing exceptionally.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say Dongy, man. Like, you guys saw how he was taking out Alula, like how slaying out. He took out some heavy hitters, but I mean, single-handedly, the movement, the dong, the dong king, the dong,
the Baba Yaga.
Yeah,
Ding
like
dong, you know.
No, that's a different one.
I'm sorry.
But we have to count the fact too, you guys. Group A, right? They have to play again. Group B gets that break.
Yes.
So for A, the pressure is on because this is it.
So pressure's on. So who is the pressure on? The first one that comes to mind for me, Infinity, is Alula.
Yes.
Alula has been struggling. Juki's a man that not only needs to make it through the World Series of Warzone, he still needs to go through LCQ with FIFA and his crew. Now you see them struggling, potentially not even making it through into finals tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I said that yesterday, right? It seems like they kind of figured things out by the end of the day. Of course, they did walk away with that game number 4 victory. But today, I think right from the rip, from last game, where they didn't feel comfortable hitting Bio right off the rip, they lost those opening engagements to New Icons and Vitality. And here in game number 2, they're like, look, this is not working for us. We can't keep hitting Bio, so we're going to change things up a little bit and move our drop towards somewhere else on the map. And then, of course, we see the effect of that, right? Because Dongi is able to take them out and make them have to research again. But still, I mean, that is a big decision to make. That is a huge decision at this point during the game. You've only got 3 games left, including the one that we just saw. To change your drop now is a massive decision to make for Alula.
It's a big decision to make. It's not easy to change things up, Dream. As a competitor, you get used to where you're at. You want to alpha your location, but if you're not alpha in your location, the only sensible option is to change things up.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, for Stiwo, Nxian, and Patsuka, like, they seem to always be there at Bio, just completely disrupting them. And I mean, we saw for some of the other teams, like, yeah, we switched our strategies, but it didn't work out for them. So for some it did, for some it didn't. But you have to think as a competitor, you got to be comfortable, you have to be feeling yourself, because when you're awkward in those positions and those rotations, it's just chaos.
That's right. There's no time to be awkward, is there, whenever you're playing? As we look at our highlights, we're going to come up to a moment that I want to discuss, the final moments for Falcons and their brilliant play to rotate into zone. Obviously, Prison, though, is a consistent talking point, Seymour.
Yeah, Prison's a huge talking point, especially considering Fnatic hasn't been as much on the ball with holding Prison as they were yesterday. You know, Brody, you were talking about it. Guild is pushing them off. It kind of opens up that real estate for other teams to kind of pick it up. And with Guild having that ability to kind of rotate in late, you thought for a second it actually may have punished Falcons heading in towards it, but they had a saving grace.
Yeah, Falcons, of course, well, I mean, I'm assuming we'll talk about the PDS play here and just say it has to appear. If it doesn't appear, we're not doing something right. Here's that Dongi play, though, you were talking about. We love it. I'm going to kind of reframe this as King Dong now. I'm going for it. I don't care.
Come on, man.
I got to do it. I'm sorry, buddy. Dongi is just on an absolute tear, but Falcons towards the end of the game. I mean, Ellen, I can't wait to get to the play because it was just so incredibly smart.
I mean, yeah, we talk about how we'll talk about how, like, those shifty plays, those gas plays, how important and how clutch he comes out. But like, that was insane. The buyback on Shifty, he's Soka too, saving the bunker buster, saving the streaks. You guys, resources, that is important late game for some of these players. You have to save your resources.
You definitely do. This was a big play, the wars and them going off, and then of course Fnatic trying to regain control of the Prison. Levi now in this moment was really, really tough, and it was a hard spot to be in, and then Raul as well as Team Destroy up there at the top, and I believe second place if I'm not mistaken, Infinity.
Yeah, I mean, that final circle was absolutely manic. I think we're actually going to get to see it here right now. Yeah, you can see Na'Vi right involved in that conversation. And Falcons, the reason they're able to win this entire thing is the high ground.
Yeah, and with Na'Vi being in there too, it kind of saves them, like I was saying, against that SGP, a big thing to buff them up where they're not too worried about that Group A finish. big wins from multiple teams. And yeah, people getting loud on stage. They're like, all right, we've been kind of talking a little bit about Falcons and how they haven't been having a good couple of days, but back-to-back wins, they're right back on track.
You know what? That was the biggest thing that they said yesterday. They have something like, okay, maybe starting off, it was a little bit nerves, you know, especially on that solos day, but they have something to play for. They have a fan base. They have a community. They're 100%. Not just playing for themselves anymore. And Shifty said, just one more would be, like, he would be satisfied.
Yeah.
One more.
One more. Is it
championship?
By the way, is it Biffle who's trying to overtake Tommy? Is he one in the conversation?
Yes, he's second.
I think he's got to be, right?
He's one of them.
Second earner.
To overtake Tommy, which I think which would be a big deal. Now, we talked a lot about SGP. That Na'Vi battle that Seymour broke down was incredible. We actually had a chance to talk to SGP after this game. Let's hear what they had to say.
It's Puckett on the stage after the second drop, and I've got SGP. Now, Dongi, we got to start with you because you were on the mainstream almost the entirety of that first drop, but you had Believe with you most of the way. What's working right now with this duo dynamic? Because these aren't your regular teammates.
Honestly, we're just running at everything. Everybody's like really scared to chow or do anything. So whenever we have a lot of UEs up and we have a lot of info, we see solos, duos, we pick them apart. If I'm not getting the kills, Believe us, you know what I mean? So it's like, we're not too worried about who's getting the kills as long as we're getting them in total. So it's the team dynamic, you know, and our team dynamic's working. We're not getting blooded a lot. We're getting a lot of kills, and it's working out for us.
I love the nickname one of the analysts gave you guys in the green room. They said you two are playing like the Bash Brothers, and you are playing as the core, the anchor of this team. Believe we haven't really shown your screen enough today, but you are also putting in work. Talk to me about what you're bringing to the table. Are you calling out the players? Is Dongy calling out the players? Are you just both seeing somebody and sprinting at them?
If we see someone, we're sprinting at them. But usually, like, we'll have a UAV up, and we'll get info, and then we're just trading each other out. Like, if we get knocked, then we're picking each other back up, and we're just flying at everything. It's working out.
Intex, I know there was a lot of questions. Who was going to be your third when Mutex couldn't make it? You've got Dongy. He seems to be a fantastic fit. Are you guys working around his play style, or is he fitting into what you guys do naturally?
He's definitely fitting into what we do naturally. Usually, you know, they're just running around together. I'm the anchor, so I'm just reeling them back in. They're getting the kills. I don't got to do much. I'm just chilling. Like, go for it, you know? Like, that's it.
Coming into the day, what was your rank, and where do you think you're at right now?
I think we're in 8th when we came into today, but I think we're probably top 5 right now.
I think so, too. The scores are still unofficial, but these guys are moving up the leaderboard. Keep your eyes on SGP going into the finals tomorrow.
I agree with that, Bucket. Keep your eyes on SGP. They're looking to make the finals tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, the Baba Yaga of SGP. He looks like he's just ready to tear. This guy is an animal, and, you know, he may not have been the first choice, the second choice, but he was the right choice for this team, and now really turning things up to 10 for SGP, really making a statement in the start of today.
Yeah.
I was a little bit worried about SGP, especially considering, you know, yesterday, Dongy had that 11-kill game back in game number 1, and then after that, he kind of trailed off, but to see them shift for SGP, and you heard it right there, they're just throwing out UAVs and they're trading each other out. Yesterday, it seemed like they were patient. They were trying to play safe, play for that placement, but this playstyle fits them very well.
Fits them very well. Just for my own information, what the hell's a Baba Yaga? Because you guys seem to know. What is that?
It's like a demon, kind of like a ghost thing. It's like a mythological thing.
Oh,
you never seen Ant-Man and the Wasp?
No.
Oh,
I
wow.
honestly,
That's terrible. That's awful.
I'm just laughing because every single time we talk about Dongy, like, he literally has a new name for him, and I'm like, dude, we've heard
That's what they call John Wick in the
Shapeshifter.
movies.
Dong
See, I didn't know that. I'm like, Baba Yaga. I want to be a Baba Yaga now all of a sudden. Let's take a look at our standings and see who ends up on top. Well, obviously, it has to be the Falcons. They started off the day. And yo, hold up. Let me get a little bit closer. 163 to 121 over Fnatic in second. But you know what, Ellen? The thing about it, though, that is so consistent with what we expect from this roster.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? Gotta give a shout out. SGP Syndicate moving up, of course. He said he was 8th, 103.4. Also, Team Destroy, right?
Yes.
Maintaining, holding that 5th place spot. And I mean, we know what happened with Jay. That solos day, just filling in for Destroy. Now still taking the 5th spot and maybe being in that final. Woo, let's go.
Hey, let's go. Destroy. We had a lot of conversations around him. He was sick. How well would they play? The brother came in and competed. He got his big victory. And shout out to him on the interviews, by the way. He absolutely crushes it. I would love to see him get on that org. I know that was a conversation that Dandro and Goz had when they were walking the boulevard. But Team Destroy, looking strong, looking poised to come in tomorrow. Very, very good. Lula, though, another team that was on that bubble that continued to struggle. It's really unfortunate to see. I want to see Jukies move forward, and I hope they do. For other rosters, though, Fnatic still looking great. But I want to go back to that last game, game number 2, and I want to talk about that big play with PDSs from Falcons. Infinity, take it away.
Yeah, so we'll talk about it here as we bring the clip up, excuse me. Falcons again, you know, they started things here as we move towards the final couple of zones, and you can see them inside the gas. They immediately recognize, hey, I've got to bring out some PDSs to survive. This is actually a pretty deep into the clip here. Basically, they get challenged from behind, right?
Yeah, and I mean, Hisoka utilizing those C4s too. He's using everything. The PDSs, the utility was on point, and I believe he did pick up an elimination on somebody on Navi. I think it was Levi. But either which way, the PDS plays and keeping and maintaining that high ground, perfect.
Yeah, and just to explain that a little bit more, actually, Guild make the perfect route. I'm kind of I wish we would have seen it there, because Guild make the perfect route in behind, right? So effectively choose to use a PDS to go really deep into the gas, wrap all the way round a building to get behind Falcons. They are never going to expect that play, and really the only reason why it all falls apart, the reason that Falcons are able to win that game is because Levi gets involved. If Levi does not third party that, Falcons are done. They do not get back-to-back games.
Well, I wouldn't say done, because you guys know that they can clutch in those chaotic moments. We don't know that, you know, but it definitely would have been.
Yeah,
You're absolutely right.
There's nothing wrong with a helping hand from somebody else, okay? And Levi came in and helped him out, and that was a great play. You know, it takes a lot of courage, though, to stay in the gas as long as they do. I think a lot of players, especially myself, right, who aren't as advanced as like the Team Falcons or the Fanatics, right, the teams playing guilds, you know, I want to get to zone as quickly as possible, especially on that moving zone. I want to make, and that point, it would have been down intense. But now you got to make your way back up. That's not an easy trek, and you're also dealing with the teams who are already taking over that high ground. So the PDS is being introduced into at least Rebirth, of course, you know, Warzone in general, has truly changed the way people make gas plays, and there's a lot of exciting moments.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we bring back it to one we saw yesterday, right, from Clapper, right, with the PDSs. I mean, that's another play. I just think the fact that we've got PDSs now here in Warzone means we are going to see, as you said, more gas plays. The way I look at it is kind of very similar to when the Stim was being used for the very first time, right? That was one of those times where it's just like, look, when the Stim became one of those meta pieces of equipment, that's when we were saying, all right, people can now go into the gas, utilize them a little bit longer to kind of get behind players in positions where people don't really expect you to be. PDSs allow you to do that, like, to the max. 100%. You can survive for a really long time.
A long time. It's actually quite shocking how long you can survive with the PDS, and it then introduces the hill-off conversation, which we don't see too much of, right? Because more so, I think Big Map, that would be more of a conversation. But regardless, great stuff coming out from Falcons. I cannot believe how well they are dominating, and I shouldn't be surprised. I mean, they are a team that consistently does dominate, but again, how they started, I was like, oh man, maybe they're going to be middle of the pack. No, they're top of the pack without question. The Falcons are leading the charge. You know, the arena's getting loud for them, and we are now transitioning from not only A to B, now A to C. We'll see the final 2 games of A, and then we'll see the first 2 games of the day for Group C. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the games will continue. right, we know the Falcons are taking over, and for good reason. It's because that man right there, we're talking Shifty, who's been tearing up the competition, dropping some of the biggest numbers that we have seen when it comes to the Warzone stage. And he is, in fact, the match MVP as well, and well-deserved, Dream.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what did he end with that? I think 40. What did he see it for? I mean, in total, 42, something like that.
Like that.
Crazy. But I mean, he's always usually the top lobby eliminator. I mean, in pretty much every single tournament they've been playing.
Yep.
I mean, for weeks.
For weeks.
Yeah, and it really comes down to their unmatched chemistry, like Shifty was kind of saying for this team. They just look like they're flowing now as a squad. Biffle's getting going, and it's allowing Shifty to make those dynamic, high-knowledge plays. Hisoka holding down the fort with them. Nothing is scary for this Falcons team anymore. There's no fear on the map for them to deal with, and that is scary considering Shifty, at the end of yesterday, was already the kill leader.
That's
so
right.
The fact that he's kind of opening up an avenue where he could just skyrocket those numbers even more.
Yeah.
That's scary, especially with playoffs tomorrow.
Yeah, without question. Hisoka, that anchor, Shifty, Biffle going out and slaying, and clearly it's working out. Shifty has the most confidence I've ever seen in a player, quite honestly. But not only does he have the confidence, every player is confident to a certain degree, but he can back it up with his gameplay. Infinity, Shifty, Biffle, the conversation, who's better? Well, it doesn't matter. Team Falcons are on top because they're all three incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And we already talked about the fact that was Tommy previously, and it still technically is right now on the top earners of all time when it comes to Warzone. You've got Biffle and Shifty challenging for that. They win here at the Esports World Cup COD Warzone. They will unearth Tommy from that position.
All right, well, it's time to head over to the STC Arena. It's time to get our game started. Once again, game number 3, A versus C. Let's see how it turns out. STC Arena, take it away.
Of the day were claimed by Team Falcons in absolutely formidable fashion. It was unbelievable to see. Now, Group B have temporarily left the stage while Group C can come on and get ready for the next 2 maps of the competition. And much like at the beginning of the day, when we introduced Groups A and B to the stage, we will now introduce Group C to the main stage. Milos, take us away, my friend.
Bringing up Group C. Coming up, Redman, Joe, and Foreign Jace. They are Cloud9.
We've got Prodigy, Wiz, and Oki. They are Team Abwiz.
Blasting on the stage, it's Rocket, it's Clapper, it's Zakar, it's all Team Vision.
Next up, we got Cams, Method Zik, and Darga. They are Team Heretics.
Ilolam, JTech, and Tenex together, they are Omen.
One of your local orgs, we got Krins, we got Hamoud, and we've got Zixt. They are Team Zixt.
And last but not least, more of our locals, Imlex, Mojo, and Nanus. They are Onyx Ravens.
If the rest of the day is anything like we've seen at the top of the day, oh my goodness, we are in for an absolute treat. So make sure you do not go anywhere, because today is looking like it's going to be a phenomenal day for an elimination day in Call of Duty Warzone, Milos.
Absolutely. Nobody's putting any brakes on at all. And you know what? Our game is ready. Let's give it up to our casters for game number 3.
Woo, baby! We are 2 games down, 2 more to go if you are Group A. A changing of the guard, if you will. You like that, my little fellow Brit? We have a couple new teams moving on in, but let's talk about Group A for a hot second here, okay? Because we have some teams that are kind of looking in a little bit of a dangerous spot.
Yeah, this whole picture starts to unfold in front of us, where Group A, you have just 2 more games to solidify your status as a team that qualifies for tomorrow. And taking a look at the leaderboard, that is a scary proposition for a lot of these sides. Thanks to a lovely bit of work from my whole shift in the back, we have calculated that 100 points would likely be enough to see you through to tomorrow. However, that means that there are a lot of sides right now that are struggling. In particular, Al Ula sitting on the border there with 53.6 points. That would assume that they would need around 47 over just 2 games. BSL, another side, sitting there currently inside the qualification point, but will need some massive games to ensure they don't watch the rest of their tournament disappear.
Yeah, this is sort of your do or die moment if you are one of those 2 squads. Now, thankfully for them, hey, maybe some of those teams that were causing you a lot of trouble, maybe are out of the lobby because we're bringing in 7 new teams. That's right. Group B, you're off the stage. Group C, you're coming back on in. There's a couple teams, though, that I am looking that I think are chomping at the bit. They are ready to kind of come alive, okay? Those 2 teams, I'm looking at Team Zix and AB Wiz. Now, Zix is interesting to me for one reason and one reason alone, okay? They are known for landing Control Center on top of Na'Vi. Na'Vi, they've been looking pretty solid, right? They're one of these teams that over these next 2 games, I think they only need roughly around 15 points to kind of get over that threshold, right? But can you do that in 2 games when you got a squad like this that's in their home country, that's trying to play for pride, landing on top of you?
Well, one of the things about Group C, right, it's kind of deemed the softer group, but we bring in some heavy hitters there. You mentioned Wiz, you mentioned Zix. I'm with you with Zix. They're a big force. Although they only finished 13th yesterday, I think there's a lot more to come. They've looked very impressive in the World Series, bringing home 3rd in regional finals. You know, just last year, they barely had any practice as a competitive team, and then they've just taken steps every single time we see them appear. So I think there's a lot more to come from them. And then let's talk about Team Abwiz. Because my lord, what a trio this is. Come in 3rd yesterday. Prodigy picks up 27 kills. Oki picks up 25. And Oki and Prod had finished 5th in European finals. So they're a real force to be reckoned with.
I love this squad, man. I think one of the biggest things in Warzone when we look at it is consistency. Consistency is always key. They have no problem just doing exactly what they want to do every single game. They know their game plan, they know how they want to play it, and they know they want to stick to it. So I'll be curious to see if they do that here. One team that's on my mind, Cloud9, that you see there on the screen. They're looking in high spirits. Now, maybe when we look at the leaderboard, it's not feeling super, super great for them, but this is kind of one of those teams. Shift mentioned it at the top of the show. This is that squad that can kind of shoot from the bottom of the leaderboard and skyrocket up. One person on that team that we need to come online, it's Foreign Jace. Did not have a great day 1, but I feel like kind of coming in here into this day, into this sort of next sort of group set of games, maybe can turn up the heat and we can maybe have Cloud9 shooting their way into Saturday.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hate to do this on main stage, but yes, Jace has been struggling. He's currently our lowest ranked player overall internally here. It's 17.5 points per game they need to be picking up in order to hit that threshold to qualify. It's a tough task for Cloud9, but yes, they are definitely a trio that we can see making big things happen, exploding here as we begin to load up map 1.
Group A versus Group C starting now. Our sort of second collection of 2 games that we are going to be looking at. Like we mentioned, last opportunity for any of these teams in Group A to score their points to try and get to that top 14. So I'm seeing the plane come on through. STC Arena is feeling it. I know that they are excited just as we are to drop in to this first game of Group A versus Group C.
There's going to be a few teams as well to keep an eye on here, and Zix immediately finds Darga, by the way, a pistol drop that just goes all wrong for the Spaniard. The Heretic side, by the way, looking really good coming on into this, but contested immediately by Team Zix. One of the Puerto Ricans here has Nate Dogg in his size, but Nate Dogg wants to contest the tower and will lose that to the fellow Puerto Rican in JTech.
A little bit of an unfortunate situation there as JTech has claimed that tower, like you said, immediately hops on out. As we can see, Team Destroy sitting on top prison. Doggy finding himself at the water tower here today, shooting out some of these drones, trying to be able to maybe get a little bit aggro, get some of that loot. You love finding these armor plates on the ground, as I am starting to see a flurry of eliminations come across the map.
Yeah, we are indeed starting to see a bit of movement happen on out there. Destroy being one of those, finding Tenix. Look at this push out of Team Zix, looking to put more pressure onto the Spaniards. Cam flipped into a corner. Method 6 is peeled off elsewhere. It feels like the Spaniards are in some sort of revival scenario. While you've got the 2 Saudi Arabians and the Pakistani player looking to just make all the living quarters their own.
I mean, there's just so many areas on the map that are looking a little contested. I'm looking towards Stronghold. I'm looking over towards Headquarters. I'm looking over towards Chemical Engineering. We're seeing contests all off the top here as we're starting to see in the kill feed. Twisted Minds starting to come online. Omit here over at Grandpa's, as I called it earlier. J-Tech goes down. Lam trying to take this fight. Answers back on the Raul, and looks like you've been able to keep this online for now, but just not yet. Lam spotted it. He heard some of the comms. Destroy, trying to run away. It might be able to be a little bit slippery. Fight gets reset.
Yeah, and Destroy does have to slip the net here because if he goes down, then a recovering Nate Dogg is the only player remaining for them, and Lam is just going to continue to hunt. Puerto Ricans need to pick it up a little bit after yesterday. They weren't awful, but they weren't brilliant, so it's good to see that kind of energy out of them nice and early. But here's one of the big storylines on our screen. Cloud9, we do believe they can make it happen, but they've got to have a day where they pick up 70 points, which would have been like 4th best yesterday, so they've got a mountain of a task ahead of them.
Well, it's not really a good start when you're seeing Jace get shot out of the sky, landing over here towards the harbor. Jobo's getting full sent by 3 members of SGP Syndicate, and they've already started flying forward. They want to be able to find Jace. They need to stay alive. There are 2 members alive if you are C9, but whoa, a little bit of catch by surprise. Jace does get found. Resolute will let him go forward, but Dongi making the read. The wall bang comes on out, brings down foreign Jace. And Jobo lands back in, trying to go for this loadout, gets deleted. That means Breadman's alive somewhere, but you are put in the blender if you're Cloud9 right now.
Look, Joe, I got a couple of questions about a few things when it comes to you, but that play, what are you trying to make happen there? Jace has just been swarmed by 3 members of the Syndicate. Yes, he finds one, but it's only because of a prox miner being tucked away into a corner. Whatever you're trying to play for there was just unbelievably risky. Anyway, Dongi, he's getting pushed. He's got 3 kills already, but move on over towards Al-Ula, who are trying to contest this bit of situation here, and Lennon's trying to find Intex, but just doesn't spot him. And the thing is, we might get to see everything here in Codcaster, but Lennon's got to do some finding. Looking to push up here, will find Intex, but he's just got to make sure this is nice and clean, because Believe isn't far away. He's gonna get his ankles broken yet again here, but he does enough to clean it up. But the teammate here is on top of him. And the thing is, there's actually going to be another team arriving here. Twisted Minds getting up close and personal.
We know this is the stomping ground of Z Smith, Aiden, and Knight. They've made their way over here towards the harbor, trying to push it towards Alula, but Lennon not letting it happen. Finds Aiden, brings them on down. Z Smith from the top rope, though, will be able to answer on back. So some solid work there. Aiden will be able to come on line. Man, if you are Alula, that is a tough situation for you. You think that you're feeling pretty good about that fight. Twisted Minds come in, they ruin your day.
Honestly, I'm just taking a look over at our map view as all that was going down, and Lennon is so separated from Jukies and Tommy. They've not got a chance in hell of being able to trade that out, and it's those kind of scenarios that may well see them not qualify for tomorrow. The squad's certainly good enough, but they're just not executing those plays correctly. But we look on over towards the Onyx Ravens, and this is another side that have got to make an absolute mountainous climb. They need 80 points in order to reach the threshold that we think will qualify teams, and Mojo takes bullets in the back. We'll get the smoke out, we'll get the plates in, but this fight against BSL will continue here at Stronghold.
Yeah, BSL's been doing a great job, but as we kind of mentioned, this is one of our bubble teams that you need to kind of come online. It's not enough just to find a handful of these eliminations with decent placement. You need a really, really solid game if you are going to start coming online here. You can see here as we're getting to the end of zone number 2, we are already missing one team, and that was SGP Syndicate. So a heavy hitter in the lobby is deleted. Might be able to open up the rest of the map for some of these squads to start moving around, because we can see already some of these fights at Stronghold starting to break out.
They are indeed. And Alex here just biding his time, looking to bring Nenus back into things, and honestly, I don't mind it. The problem you have if you're a side like this, for every bit of time that you want to buy, that means you're missing out on kills, and when you're just chasing the rest of the pack, you need to be finding them. But let's move ourselves on over to prison. Alula trying to restabilize here. Lennon on the rooftop. Tommy needs to get back on down. Juki's trying to climb the scaffolding. You have company here in Team Eisen, and Juki's just trying to wrap around the side. Ducks away. Eisen pulls off the res, so you won't get that confirmed there, and that's just frustrating if you are this Alula side, because you desperately need points.
This might be the first time in competitive Warzone we've seen a Guardian actually be potentially useful. That Guardian set up there into that area kind of denies Juki's the ability just to fly on through. It's just unfortunate. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, AB Wiz, we're seeing, of course, Vision get deleted. We know that they love to sit here. We know that this is their playground, and they want to hold it on down, let these players fly on into them. It seems like a lot of teams right now, Enigma, kind of starting to struggle to regain.
Indeed, and Zix is just going to put the sword to Mojo. Shark in the water and will eventually get the knock. There you go. Finishes it on off. The thing is, there's actually another player potentially landing on him. No, decides to float on over away. I think that's the smart play indeed. Zix here just taking his time because Jowo is actually lurking above here and wants to shoot a couple of players.
This is
the water, and that's exactly what I was worried about. Bagel gets up close, but it will be survival for Cloud9 for now, but you don't want to be in this blender when you're desperately chasing the rest of the pack.
No, I hate it when we swap these POVs and I'm watching teammates just laying on their belly, trying to stay alive, trying to maybe play some sort of regain and try and stay alive here. But Tenix sitting up top with the Car 98K, getting in some shots, finds Tommy. You're seeing an armor plate get broken. Maybe some of those adjustments we've seen on the Car 98 players just aren't used to yet, but down low, you got LLM and JTech looking to get a little bit mixy here, but not too far away. You have Izun, Rodrigo, and King Madi ready to pounce.
You do. The Puerto Ricans will take the rooftop. Actually, they will be able to be uncontested for just a moment. Team Izun might well play this rooftop eventually, but it's going to take them a moment to get there. So let's move on over then towards the living quarters. There's a range of teams looking to battle this out. We've got the Onyx Ravens and, well, Control Center. Then for Prodigy and Oki, two of the big players that we said would come on into this and make some noise, but the Heretics backed into a corner, and more company here from Method 6 actually manages to catch Limax coming through the door.
I really like that play. They basically sandwich that one player, delete them, sees a couple of the toes of Limax, gets the full, and it looks like Heretics have kind of been able to gain control for now. Laying around here, you can see there's one more player from Team AB Wiz on the outside, playing a little bit of that anchor. Meanwhile, back on over the living quarters, you mentioned there's a lot of stuff going on. Raul, last player left alive for Destroy. He's trying to make his way alive. He cannot. Crims brings him down. That is a squad wipe on Team Destroy. They go out, I believe, with only 3 eliminations.
Which is worrying because they're certainly not safe just yet. They might well progress on through, depending on the performance of other teams, but right now, they've got to be counting their lucky stars. And, well, Team Abwiz, this is the squad that we spoke about coming in as a big heavy hitter. Prodigy and Oki really putting on a clinic yesterday. Wiz essentially playing anchor. It looks like they're chasing after these Miami Heretics around the control center. Method 6 tucked away here. We'll get caught. We'll get down. It's actually going to be picked on up by Tenix. But Prodigy wants all the smoke and finds Cams alongside Oki.
Feels pretty solid. Izun here, sitting on 0 eliminations. They're not feeling very good so far, if I'm being honest with you. Enigma currently only 2 eliminations total for the team, and it's going to be hard to make something happen. Looks like they're playing very scared right now. Look, you got the player up top with the sniper in hand. You got JTech and Ilalam just flying out as a duo, but the trades are in. Tenix, you got to come down from the lighthouse. You have to help your team. I don't know if the Superi from up top is enough. They both go down, and even though you still have the resurgence here, Enigma, I'm looking at 30 seconds for both of those players. That's a long amount of time for Tenix to have to stay alive just to keep their team in the conversation.
Yeah, because he's in that tower, he will likely be okay, but the problem is then his 2 teammates have got to recover somehow, and how do you manage to get all your loot together from somewhere like prison, especially when the circle's about to squeeze you all out? Heretics pushing up onto Zakar, and this is how these 3 play. They just get around each other, play off each other, just aggress everything together. A very balanced lineup. And just showing that chemistry that they've built over years and years, looking to hold off the edge of the circle here near Stronghold. We're going to have company from BSL.
Well, Resurgence is closing right now. We are out 4 teams already. But what's kind of the interesting thing to me, Enigma, I'm seeing 5, 6 teams right now on double-digit eliminations in this lobby already. We still have 10 squads up. So right now, it is about playing your life. We have a lot of teams who you've earned your points. You've earned these elimination points. It's now all about scoring that placement multiplier. That is what you want to be looking at. And when it comes to kind of those total kills there, I'm looking at Na'Vi, I'm looking at Twisted Minds, currently sitting on 13. BSL, a team that we talked about, currently sitting on 12.
Those points to come on through. And just to remind you guys about the placement multipliers, you need to get 8 for 1.2, 5th for 1.4, and then second will give you that 1.7. That doesn't sound too far away when you sat in 10th on Big Map, but it feels like a lifetime here on Resurgence. BSL just looking to try and move through the edge of this circle. This is the problem. When you rotate on late, you get held, and you're currently being held by Team Abwiz, who rotated over from Control Center and have found Liam.
And I love this. Look at our little mini-map here in the top left. Team Heretics, they've been able to already start this Rap and AB Wiz kind of move in behind them to start holding BSL. BSL, you are hanging on by a thread right now. Really no gas mask to use. You have this one PDS, but you're still in the gas. You don't really have to move if you're AbWiz. You're just waiting on him. Prodigy finds StuKX. Maybe they can find some more. Na'Vi, one of the top slaying squads that we just talked about, sitting here on top of this building. This is a power position.
This is indeed a power position because although you don't have maximum height from the headquarters region, those players have to come towards you because of the pole. You're also going to be able to look out on over Team AbWiz who are coming from around the control center. You're also going to have Team Heretics who are trapped down on the beaches just south of living quarters. This is indeed a great position, but you've got to take advantage of it if you're Na'Vi. We said they only need a couple of okay games, but a big game would well and truly see them through to tomorrow.
Well, I think more than that, just seeing them through tomorrow, it kind of would, I think, give them a lot of confidence that they can perform in a lobby of this caliber. AB Wiz, you're able to hold out BSL, but now you got to make the hard part of getting on in. Two players trying to stay alive. You throw the PDS down, maybe try and make a gas play, reset this fight, but I don't know if this is enough, Enigma. You got Na'Vi, they're up there. Look, they're looking down at you. Omit, 2 players only left alive. Looks like Tenix got taken out. Everybody trying to play their life. This zone closes on in, but look where we're going, baby. It is just not even anywhere near here.
This is a massive snap. This is definitely going to benefit Team AbWiz, Team Na'Vi, and potentially the Puerto Ricans as well, because it just completely shifts everyone off towards that northwest side. Right now, people just scrambling to try and survive in the living quarters as Nenos finds Smith, and that will be Twisted Minds on out of here. We're also going to lose Team Izund, and we're also going to lose Team AbWiz. Players falling like dominoes in this one.
Oh, but you got heavy hitters still in here. You got Heretics, you got Na'Vi. We called this a power position. You're starting to see why. It is just a field day for them as they take out Vision. Squad 6 going on down. Limax currently sitting only on 2, but you got 2K damage, so he's shooting. He's helping the team. Heretics sitting down below. Omit, delete it. We're left to 3 teams.
We are indeed, and it's going to be Na'Vi holding the rooftop, surely the power position here, because teams have got to rotate beneath them. Do you have the PDSs to potentially make the play? There are 2 players with gas masks as well, and you could be well set up here to see an Australian victory, a big game that would guarantee them some qualification points. However, you do have to clear out Nenus and Co. This is much better from them and the Heretics. How do you play it? The PDS comes on out. The problem is that tells everyone that you're here. I love the potential of a PA play to light up the whole region and send everybody scrambling here, Dandro.
That's exactly what happens. We're starting to see the PA come on in. Heretics, they're laying in wait. The Onyx Ravens have started to move. The Thermite starting to tick down Cams. Methods taken down. Cams deleted. Methods, you're trying to be able to stay alive, but where is Daga? I don't know, but look who's still up here. Na'Vi, they got PDSs in play. They are just flying on through. The shots are coming on in. Can they bring down the Onyx Ravens? It looks like they're actually able to reset. Finally, here's the moment they start to move. Levi currently sitting on 10. Can they close this out?
I mean, Levi goes up, down, and gets shot in the back as well. And actually, the Onyx Ravens looking a great spot here as Mojo snaps. A 1v1, Limax will light it up, and Mojo goes huge for the victory. We said that they needed to pick up 80 points coming into today. It's a mountainous task up against it, but they go huge here in their first game of the day to bring themselves a bit of hope, a lifeline light at the end of the tunnel to qualify for tomorrow.
Hey. If there's anything we've seen here as part of the Esports World Cup Call of Duty Warzone, you can never count a team out. That has been the storyline every single day. You can never overlook someone. You can never expect them not to make it. A team like Onyx Ravens being bottom of the leaderboard coming in today after groups yesterday. Shift talked about what do teams need to do to kind of regain, prepare for today. They obviously hit the lab last night. They did their VOD review because they end that with a win with 7 eliminations. A solid 14-point game to kick it off.
Well, one of the things we've spoken about in terms of the Falcons, right? You get that benefit of playing your first 2, learning something, playing your last 2. If you're Group C, you didn't have any opportunity, really. You played all 4 games yesterday. If you were put in a blender, you just got to learn on the fly, which is a very difficult thing to do in lobbies of this quality. So to go away, have a look over your VOD and talk about the kind of things that you need to fix is absolutely massive, and they've shown that they've done exactly that coming into today. I feel for Na'Vi, who are currently on our screen. I thought that it was theirs to lose, to be honest. But second place and a good return on the kills will more than likely guarantee them through to tomorrow.
I mean, they came down in second place. You still got 20 eliminations. So let's take a look at how that sort of end game did happen on through, because this was really awkward, right? Na'Vi, they have this power position until it's not a power position, right? You see two of them jump on up, Zeppa falling far from behind, but it's just a quick little push out and trade that happens on through, and it's just basically some of these trades coming on in. Some great positioning from Onyx Ravens at the end of the day. It's Mojo ending it on out against Limax. You love to see it. Na'Vi, though, you don't hate it too much if you are them. 20 eliminations, second place, 1.7 multiplier. We said they needed to have an okay next 2 games. Well, hey, that's a great way to kick it off.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. And honestly, it kind of, that end position there kind of sums up how it's been for them through this tournament. You're in good positions, but you're just not seeing those things out. I think they're unlucky because what happens is that all the engagements that are going on elsewhere take a bit too long for them, so they run out the PDSs and have to make the play, no longer the power position that they had hoped that it would be. But again, I think that that will be enough to see them through to tomorrow. Maybe they can apply and give themselves a bit of freedom in this next game in order to just like kind of, okay, how do we do when we actually run at our opposition?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. First game of Group A versus Group C done. That's enough for Enigma and I here today. We're going to send it to the desk to see what they have to say about that first game.
All right, Dandro Enigma, pleasure hearing you throughout those first 3 maps. 3 more to go, 1 more specifically for Group A. So those teams at the bottom, well, they've got 1 more chance to step it up because if they're on the bubble, well, things start to get a little bit scary. But Onyx Ravens taking the victory. First time we see them at the top.
Yeah, you know what's funny is it's just one of those teams, and I'll fully admit I was not expecting them to do anything whatsoever, especially after yesterday where they were pretty silent. I think they're currently sitting at something like previous to this game, obviously, like 19th or 20th.
They were down there.
They are down there for sure. This is going to put a lot of pressure on some of those teams that want to get on the bubble, want to qualify for the final day. Big, big game from Onyx Ravens.
And this is the first time that we actually see a team in the danger zone. Your Cloud9s, your AG Globals, and your Gaming Gladiators actually stepping up to the task of trying to battle their way out of the trenches and trying to put some pressure on those bubble teams. It's a huge moment for Onyx Ravens, giving themselves a chance at that day coming up, trying to get to the playoffs.
And honestly, I didn't expect them to win that final zone because I was looking at that point, Na'Vi, top green, PDS is out, overlooking tents. They were lasering everyone. I thought it was their game for sure. They dropped down and they just couldn't take out Onyx Ravens.
Do you know what? It's so funny. This must be the 3rd time this has happened now. I think it is the 3rd time, at least from my memory, might even be more than that Na'Vi have had the zone pull for the final moment of the game. And then, they are so good with positioning, and they even had the PDSs that we've already had that kind of lengthy discussion with. So for them not to walk away with first is so gut-wrenching. And I think, again, you kind of add another layer to that with the idea that they're going head-to-head with Onyx Ravens, which I think in their mind, at least, after the last day of Onyx Ravens play, they should have been like, yeah, we absolutely should have won that one. Also worth saying, though, Heretics were involved in that situation.
Yeah. No ice in Australia, I guess.
It is very hot.
Close it out for these games. And I think for Na'Vi, you know, we keep talking about these moments for them where they just can't close out the game, but it's another game for Na'Vi where they keep in the contention of at least top 4. They did it last game when the Falcons won. They do it this game. They get the 2nd place, and that's going to be good considering they only have 1 more game left, and they're still fighting for that top side of making it in towards playoffs. Nobody's confirmed just yet. I would say up there. I think we're still shifting things around, but this is a big, big change up, the fact that Onyx Ravens stepped up.
Big change up indeed. Onyx Ravens making their fans proud and, well, making us proud here on the desk. We start getting towards the tail end, and this is where I start to see Na'Vi again. Top green. They've got everybody in their line of sight. You can wallbang through those tents, right? Not necessarily the buildings to the left, but I'm thinking they are locked. But then all of a sudden, Onyx Ravens, right? They're few, but apparently, despite them being few, specifically just Mojo, well, he takes on the entire world, beams them down, and that's where you just got to rely on yourself. You see how pumped up he is, standing up, giving the high fives. They loved it.
Isn't that also, Mojo was the one who was in the water swimming for his life. I can't remember who it was, but he was trying to get away from the player with the pistol in the water.
Oh, yes.
And it was one of those things for Onyx Ravens that, you know, you see moments like that for them. You think you're just going to count them out of the game, but the resilience is incredible for them.
Without question, you have to have resilience at this stage. If you do not, well, your regain's not going to happen. You don't regain, well, you're not going to make it far. And, well, let's talk about potentially not making it far, Alula. Conversation shifts to them. They're now very much in the danger zone. Things are getting scarier even now because Onyx Ravens, they take a win. They were in 19th. They could be shooting up past Alula.
Yeah, BSL continue to be a problem for some of the fan favorite teams here. They were the ones to remove Alula, who, I mean, to be frank, they also were not having a good time leading up to that moment. We could see them kind of flailing a little bit, just trying to survive for long enough to get the resurgence, get your teammates back in. They just do not feel comfortable right now. And I'm really not sure what it is. I think a lot of people were talking about, you know, are Alula in this situation where maybe they're getting too aggressive, too solo on these plays?
Yeah.
Or is it a situation where they're just not having a good rotation in the middle of the map? I really don't know. But it is worth saying now, we kind of mentioned the situation that Alula were in before we got into the game.
Yeah.
There was 1 point between them and Zizix. Zizix have, I think it's 4 games, including the one that we just saw. Alula only have 2. It is going to be very difficult now, short of from the Hail Mary, incredible final game for Alula to make it into the final day.
Hail Marys. Well, let's see who has to throw that Hail Mary. We take a look at our standings, and obviously at the top has to still be Team Falcons. They've been dominating back-to-back win just a little bit earlier, still sitting at 163. Fnatic, Na'Vi, Guild just below them, but there are some teams in a danger zone and a point threshold that needs to be met.
Yeah, you're kind of sitting at that 7th to 8th spot right now where we have our eyes on. Shift was breaking down the math between games and he was tweeting it out and he was saying that, you know, now that the teams have kind of picked up the pace into towards today and you see some of those bottom teams starting to put up numbers, that threshold is starting to shift higher a little bit. And if you're a team looking at making that comeback into the playoffs tomorrow, you're kind of aiming for that 100-point marker that's going to separate you from the rest, put you into a more comfortable position. And obviously for some, it's going to be a harder task than others, but it's still possible. I mean, we saw Falcons yesterday put up 50 points in a game. So you turn up in one game, you shift that narrative immediately.
That's Falcons, though. I mean, that's Falcons. I don't think there's many teams that can put a 50-point game up.
I agree.
I mean, if Falcons, if anyone's going to do it, we know it's going to be Falcons. I mean, Ellen knows what's up with that. So.
Yeah, she definitely does. But the competitors here are stellar, every single one of them. And the thing is, now it's a matter of, for Group A, if you are on the bubble or if you are a little bit further down in the danger zone, it's a matter of how much do you want it, right?
Yep.
This is your time to shine. When you still have Group B to play, still Group C to play, right? That's a scary prospect taken whenever you're down the list. But it seems like Game 3 is over with, and it's time now to move into Game number 4. Let's send it over to our casters. We got Shift and Ghost to call the next 3.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the caster booth. It is fiery out there at the STC Arena. We're having a blast watching all the games, but Shift, it's our time to take the cast. And it's going to be fiery because we got a lot of math to do, my friend. We've been cooking up some stats. We've got thresholds. We got all types of things we can talk about. But at the end of the day, you've got to be top 14, and that's all that matters.
And like we've continued to mention, it looks like the number will be right around 100 points. So there are some squads that only have one more drop left. Do or die time. The only bit of good news for some of the squads like Alula, which you keep bringing up, is hey, not the greatest first 3 drops, but they finished their day yesterday with a 26-point win. Is that going to be enough? Hard to say. On the other side of things, though, the teams that have stayed super consistent are actually a lot of the teams that are playing for placement, holding on to key ground, and then saying, the kills will come to us. Let's just get our multipliers first, and Na'Vi is the prime example of that.
It's a perfect summary of the Na'Vi team. They've been rotating early. They say the kills will come, and they find them. Levi had 10-11 by himself, almost secured the 2x multiplier. Of course, thwarted by the Onyx Ravens. In the green room, I literally jumped for joy when I saw the Onyx Ravens get their win.
Did.
Unfortunately, a little bit of a frustrating win. They only had 7 kills to boot, so there is kind of a high-risk, high-reward playstyle that has to happen from a lot of our teams. Especially if you're down into the 14th or below spots right now, you know that Group A, this is your last chance to make a move on this leaderboard. You've got to put up a ton of points. I expect to see gameplay completely shift at this point. So I hold Shift, my friend.
Yes, sir.
We're about to get into the game, and I gotta say, if we're seeing teams of 3 rotating around the map together, that means we're gonna see teams of 3 fall early.
That's very true. And the thing is, it's not just conversations around kills versus placement at this point, because it's both. You have to be able to secure both of those. On the other front, not just talk about groups like Alula, but also looking at teams like Izon, who had a great individual map yesterday. They're on the bubble. They need maybe 9 to 12 points. That's not a guarantee. So there is this level of how much do we want to play risky? How much do we want to stay safe? Let's get it on.
Nothing given, everything earned. Welcome into game number 4 of the group stages, day 2. The last chance for Group A to make a move. Welcome to Rebirth Island. We're back, and it's about to get spicy. Here comes the drops, and immediately we see Dongi, Believe, Intex first to hit the ground. And that team has been dominating today, had a frustrating last map, but likely passed our threshold at this point, currently in 5th place. Watch out for that SGP Syndicate squad. They have been Reapers on the map. Speaking of some math here, Shift, something else to keep in mind, high risk, high reward, certainly valuable, but big question mark is if somebody can wipe some of the top teams early, the top slaying teams, that means there's more points to go around for a team like Aula.
And that's the other part of it is, you know, we deal with kind of the opening of what today was with A versus B. Falcons were taking all the freaking points away. So there is this level of who can actually do almost the exact same thing, especially for those groups in C that are getting their first real taste of what the day has looked like to this point. So yeah, lots of interesting conversation points, but I think the biggest thing here, you got to keep your eyes on teams like Al Ula, they're number 2 in purple, Izun's team number 7 in white, and Destroy's team still number 1 in red.
Yeah, Destroy has fallen early, but should be fine. We're going to hop on board with our last map. Winners, Team Onyx Ravens, had a 14-point game, not too shabby, but they need about like a 50-point win to even be in the conversation, to be making it to the finals. And right now they're frustratingly rather falling on the other side. I think that's almost a full team wipe. Speaking of a full team wipe, 1 goes down, 6 gets taken out, but Squad 10 fully eliminated already. We told you it was going to be hot. We told you teams were going to rotate together. That squad is out of here. I believe that is our Heretic squad, who had a great last map.
And not just a great last map, they had a great day yesterday. They were one of our most consistent squads in terms of all the individuals participating evenly, and also just finding consistent results and overall placement. So definitely a bit odd to see them fall early, as Al Ula is also in a bit of trouble here fighting up against Intex and Co.
Yeah, this is trades back and forth, both teams suffering some losses, but now Tommy all on his last legs. He has to win this, gets Believe, cuts him down. Dongi not going to make the aggressive play to try to take out Tommy. That could have been all she wrote for Aula, not only here in this map, but in the entirety of this competition. Juki's gets taken out by Dongi immediately on the regain. This Aula squad, we've got to keep our eyes on them. They are in a frustrating spot right now on the map. They need a win, and they need it with a ton of points.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, you know, they have been in this weird position of some players staying alive, scrambling just to keep them in the game, but they need to stay in strong fighting form from start to finish. They need to reap in the beginning, and they need to find a really tall placement. So that's something to keep our eye on. Over towards one of our very safe teams at the moment, Team AB Wiz. They have looked unbelievable. Abwiz in particular, he's been a great lockdown anchor for the squad, and Oki and Prodigy are 2 of our top 3 overall slayers so far, especially after day number 1, and they did prove it that, yep, we are still carrying that into today.
Well, Navi slaying off screen. Prodigy on your screen currently, rotating slowly. Dongi in trouble. 4 and Jace. Cloud9, they need a big one. They've got a couple more that they can play, but even still, the first map did not go their way. This team could not get stabilized. They could not regain. They could not play together. Yep. And frankly, it was Joe and 4 and Jace that were constantly in the regain blender. So they're hunting down Intex. They need to take out a top slaying squad so they have more room to work with. They need this side of the map all to themselves. And it's the overreach, the oversight here from Breadman that is giving them the information to hunt down this team.
And the thing about it for Cloud9 is, like you mentioned, you're playing up against one of the most consistent squads right now in SGP Syndicate. Do you really want to try to force them out? Because Dongi and Believe have been the dynamic duo for this SGP squad, but 4 and Jace, good timing, comes up, takes care of Believe. Dongi's in the mix, though, careful. Syndicate in a little bit of trouble. Dongi able to find 1, but no chance of turning that into a second, and a much better start to the day for 4 and Jace since he's already on 4.
I think he has more kills now than he had the entirety of the day yesterday.
I think so.
So far, so good. In this map, watch out for Cloud9. You said they were going to make a move. The question is, how long will it take them? As we swing over to the other side, Bagel being cut down by Zix, another team that needs a sizable amount of points. You can see off the left-hand side of your screen as we fly in from Stukex, Omit. Watch out for that Omit squad. They like playing center of zone. They like hanging out, and they need kills, but they've been doing about average across the day. They need to continue that average and have one bigger map in the next couple.
Yeah, BSL also on 77 points, so they're also desperately in the need for a big kill, high placement game if they want to try to make it to tomorrow. The other team that, again, we spent a lot of time talking about in the pre-show, but you throw away one of Amit's bad maps from yesterday, they are unbelievably consistent across the board. Lots of top 8 finishes for them, as we do have another team already done and dusted. It's Vision. So, you know, a team from Group C, pardon me, that really has not necessarily had the greatest day. They did have 1 win yesterday, but their first 2 drops have not gone well for them today.
This team, Onyx Ravens, they need a big one. Frankly, anybody in Group A needs a massive game. Onyx Ravens down way down the leaderboard, won the last map. Could be the second team to win 2 maps in a row. So far, we've had 3 map winners, and they've all been Birds. We've had Falcons, we've had Ravens. Let's see if maybe the Birds will continue to soar above the competition, hopefully this time with a few more points. And look, a big question mark, Destroy's team. This one, they're right on the margin. They're right on the fringe. They need like a 10-point game to make sure they're above that 100-point threshold.
And look who they're near. Team Eisen, who also is in the same boat where they're so close, but still needing a little bit of work to be done. So if they find a way to battle early here, that may throw a team completely out of the running as, again, lots of early action means we got so many things to look over the top of as Destroy Squad is in a little bit of trouble here. You see him in the kill feed falling, but down towards the bottom side of the map, Zik's team looking to possibly farm on that Onyx Ravens after their win.
There's the back and forth we were talking about. Eisen, Omit, striking each other. Destroy in the mix as well. Right around the corner, slowly but surely working their way through. We're going to take a quick look back at Cloud9. They needed a big one, and so far, so good. It's about high time for the kid 4 and Jace. We've been telling you, Shift, that this guy's a slayer, and he has not proved it. But this game looking really strong. Hopefully they can continue that efficacy forward as Brett does pick up Donkey, by the way, with a headshot. So Brett connecting on some of those snipes that we promised.
And speaking of Cloud9, Jace is also in trouble here. Team Eisen has done well. Team Destroy, like you mentioned, we're kind of pushed off this angle on the interior of prison. Team Eisen went pretty much unchecked, unguarded. Cloud9 stumble their way in and find themselves a very healthy team that punished them completely. Breadman from the windows, though, of course, he's over by Water Tower. He's looking to finish off any potential kills, and he has gotten at least information that Eisen's team's nearby. He's got a really good look at team number 2, which is Al-Ula, and on top of that, of course, he's also kind of gatekeeping where SGP was with that finish he just found.
Yeah, Brett, I think, is going to make sure that he doesn't get dropped on. I think he was looking up to the skies to make sure as he reloaded. Smart move. A lot of players do like to drop onto the water tower, and Rodrigo cleans up Joe. Doesn't look like he has any chance to help, so now it's all up to Breadman to just sit and wait and be the anchor they need him to be. Look, kills, they will come. You've got to stay alive. You can see the timers in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, 15 seconds, 20 seconds and counting. Brett is going to hang out here for a while.
Careful.
He cannot fall. Now, if you do damage, you take out an opponent, that's going to decrease those timers. So it's a little bit of yin and yang. Maybe go for some kills, but make sure you stay alive. We're going to swing back down to Na'Vi, though. They've been dominating today with positioning, looking for a couple more kills.
Center circle focus has been pretty much the name of the game for teams like Fnatic, Na'Vi, and well, they're trying to continue that once again, but we do have another elimination. BSL down and out. That may be the end of their tournament. They only finish on 7 total kills by my tally, which is not going to be enough for them to get to that around 100-point threshold. So not good news for BSL. Now you maybe get a little bit of maybe favor for teams like Al-Ula to possibly continue forward, get high placements, but they still need a lot of kills.
Yeah, so much math we can talk about, but for the viewers at home, you got to remember, this is the last game for Group A. So if you fall here and you're below about 100 points, there's no chance. Speaking of falling, Oki down, Prodigy down, Abwiz the only one left alive, flying back in. That team is now in a blender. They've had a great tournament thus far. They're going to try to restabilize and continue to make some moves up the leaderboard. This is group stages, folks. Top 14, all that matters. And Elo doing everything in his power to keep himself alive, keep his team in the mix. They're so close. They need a big game. And barely, just barely one of them gets out as Abwiz fully eliminated.
Dude, how about this Onyx Raven team today? They continue to put themselves not just in comfortable spots off drop, but they're finessing around a lot of these team fights to get a couple of picks and stay healthy. They've maybe had one player on a stagger the entirety of the way through these last 2 drops, so they're doing really nicely. And now we look back over towards what Twisted Minds are doing as they're stumbling right over towards where Team Einzund is.
Twisted Minds is their last map as well, part of that Group A thing. And well, we got Joe right in front of us, and smokes galore, doesn't matter. How about I just barrel stuff you and take you down? Joe back to the air he goes. We are running out of daylight on our zone. We've got Bread with tons of damage. As a quick reminder, by the way, we are missing 5 squads. You know who we missed? Destroy is out. I don't know how many points they've done. I don't know how many points they have. They might be our threshold team. They are right at 100.2 points from what we've done here in the booth. That is a wild stat. Watch out. They could be 14th place at the end of today.
That also means that Team Einzund gets a little bit more breathing room as they have also dropped, but they dropped 11 kills before being finished off. So that's going to be a good tally for them as we're down to our final 8. So here's our next multiplier. Cloud9 back into the mix. A couple of plates to be shared between players, but Breadman needs to get active. But like we said, he's got nearly 5K damage. He's only been able to secure 2 downs because flat out he hasn't been allowed to play because Jace and Joe have been on the stagger throughout the entirety of this first part of the map.
8 teams remaining, and this is where the map slows just for a moment. You can breathe. You have to breathe because gameplay is so important. If you lose a player, they're not coming back. You've got to earn your place into the final spot here into Grand Finals tomorrow. Juki's able to answer back on a trade, losing Tommy Aula. They must win, and they must win in incredible fashion. Need around 50 some odd points if they can. Seemingly in a bit of trouble as Juki's does continue to rain terror on this Amit squad off screen, and Na'Vi sits patiently waiting for any enemy to come their way, frankly waiting for that multiplier.
Yeah, honestly speaking, this should turn into an Alula storyline pretty much from here on out. They're sitting on 8 kills. A stagger comes back in. Tommy's going to get back into the mix. Smoke will start to push teams towards their direction. This could get really hairy, especially if Alula gets seen first, which Foreign Jace has gotten some damage. He wants to chase.
He wants to chase. He's on 5. He had 4 in the first circle, and well, this is a ridiculous push by Lennon. I don't know what he thought was going to happen. Here comes the third party. Juki's in trouble. Juki's is able to take down Jowo, so at least gets 1. It's going to be on the back of Juki's and Tommy we go. The old guard trying to maintain position at the top, but they are so close to being relegated, so close to not making it to Grand Finals tomorrow, and somehow hanging on by a thread, both Cloud9 and Aula.
Yeah, and Cloud9 are in a position to where their kills aren't necessarily great, so now you're just trying to stake together a couple of points wherever you possibly can. This is all about how long can you exist if you're Jace. But the hardest team to deal with right now seems to be Na-Frickin-V. 16 kills. They're already controlling over towards ship. A couple players still remain to allow them to get in towards the stocks position, but Aula and Tommy with the high ground could potentially rain some damage from above.
This is a huge take. This is Zix down below. This is one of the teams that could potentially gatekeep this Aula squad. Again, they've got a couple kills. It looks like Juki's is on 4 and finds Mood from behind. Great footsteps. Hearing swings over to Tommy. Tommy's able to answer back. This should be an easy trade, no problem. Juki's, though, getting traded out by Crims. Here comes Zix. Zix is about to play Ruiner. Zix is about to play Spoiler. Zix cuts down that Aula squad. They will not be moving on to Grand Finals if our math is correct. There is a lot more gameplay to be had, and they are below that 100-point threshold.
And they didn't finish top 5. It was Onyx Ravens that got finished off before we got to this Final Four. Dongi up top, SGP with 3 members strong, but not with a lot of plates. And all of a sudden, who is it? It's Twisted Minds again. These guys were either red hot yesterday or ice cold. They find themselves in the red hot form early.
We have 3 teams remaining, and Zix and Crims have hung on after being pushed by team after team. They need top 2. They are in 3rd right now. 3 teams remaining and in trouble. They're going to PDS here, but look at Na'Vi. They're on the rotation. That's team 8. They are moving to the zone, and they're moving early. This is what this team does. They have the highest average placement of any team. Zix catches him in rotation, saw the light, and said, I'll at least take out 1. Final 2. We've got Na'Vi versus Twisted Minds. We've got 2nd place versus 3rd place. These are our top teams for a reason. The only team we're missing is the Falcons, and Twisted Minds says, don't worry, we're going to be at the top. What a way to finish game number 4. Wow, Twisted Minds dominating. Twisted Minds at the top. Knight, that X Factor we were expecting.
The Twisted Minds is unbelievable, bro. They had 1 bad map yesterday. 1. They finished 11th, and they still put together like 10 kills. So these guys are doing it all, and they're doing it all very, very well. It's one of those things that, you know, especially as we kind of look towards our favorites, just to keep the conversation, not just focus on the bubble, but the teams that are looking like heavy-handed, possible strongest teams out there. Falcons, of course, in top of our minds, but Twisted Minds, Na'Vi, all playing very consistently, not just overall kills, but also positioning. They're finding their kills late as well, which is super impressive considering all of our strong teams seem to be lasting until almost the final 2 circles.
Yeah, and again, those Group A teams, Na'Vi, Twisted Minds, near the top of our leaderboard, they're done now, right? They did their job.
That way, yep.
They're feeling really good about their performance. They're going to also have that wind in their sails going into the Grand Finals tomorrow to know they're likely going to be a top 5 team at the end of group stages. Still a couple more games to be played for that Group C. We're looking at Abwiz to potentially breach into that top 5 conversation, but it's all about the bubble shift. It's all about the teams right around 14th place. There's still a lot of work to do for our Group C teams. I'm looking at Cloud9. I'm looking at Omit. I'm even looking at Onyx Ravens. Who knows?
Yep.
They could make a move. They've been feeling really confident in the last couple maps, but they still need a crazy amount of points.
Absolutely. And again, Group B has to play up Group C next, which, again, feels like it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But here's a look at that last rotation. You talked about it. Na'Vi hard preferring to try to get to the zone before the circle actually gets there. The difference was Zix calm and collected. A 1v2v2 situation, 1v2v3 actually, and he's still able to find a couple of kills, make life that much more difficult. Could not quite finish off the second kill, but still lots of damage done and essentially gifts the game on a silver platter to Twisted Minds at the end.
Yeah, you know, I'm sitting here doing the math, and at the end of the day, I think Twisted Minds wins that regardless, just no matter how many points they get, and it's really just added insult to the rest of the teams. You know, when we were talking about that game for Aula and some of these teams on relegation point, like on that kind of cut point we talked about, they not only needed a win, they needed a ton of kills, and they needed somebody like Twisted Minds to not be there in the final circle. They needed those points, but Twisted Minds comes away with a crazy amount of points. Let's head over to the casters, the analyst desk. Taylor Reflected Noble, where are you at? What you got for us?
Already know how it goes. Go Shift, casting that excellently. That's game number 4 done, and also games done for Group A right there. 4 games are out of the way, which means we've most likely just seen some early exits, or at least earlier than we were expecting, most likely at the start of day 1. We'll cover that in just a second. But the big story here is Twisted Minds winning back-to-back days. Dream, Twisted Minds with Aiden and co. They're pumped up. They're feeling great. They've got to be on top of the world.
Yeah, and I mean, Shift said it, right? They had like one bad game, but still able to pick up so many eliminations, and that like the synergy that they have between the squad, even with that IGL with Z-Smith, right? Taking over late game, but you always see them together. And with these games, you guys, listen, Group A, Group B, C, Elemental P, you know, you guys doing all the math and stuff as a competitor, it just doesn't matter.
That's right.
You just got to win. You got to be alive in those in-game moments, and they're always together. They're always alive, all 3 of them.
Always together. And Twisted Minds, I believe, was your prediction, if I'm not mistaken,
Look, I think
right?
I got it in my back pocket here somewhere. I don't know what you can see, but I got the pin right
got the
here.
Twisted Minds
the Twisted Minds pin.
Beautiful.
I'm gonna put it right up here when the games are done, because
well.
I imagine they're gonna be on top of the world.
Bias caster.
Bias cast. Well, I'm biased towards 6. I've been saying that. But then again, Fnatic was my official pick, and Fnatic is looking pretty good, right? After all, tomorrow we'll be crowning our champion. We'll see who it is. But Twisted Minds, seriously, good job from them. Just back to you, though. What makes Twisted Minds such a great team? Obviously, you were backing them at the beginning. They've now got wins in back-to-back days. What are they doing right?
I mean, it's just they've put together a good team with experience. Last time we saw this team kind of take the stage in a resurgence area, it was all the way back in CDLR. They get 3rd place, and that was online. So you put them in LAN now, where Aiden obviously feeling the crowd. We saw that earlier on, and you put Gorgo Knight in that same situation where he's the retired resurgence janitor, just cleaning up all those messes. Z-Smith, he's got the brains. Ellen was touching on that the first day. Him taking that IGL role has been proving to be the recipe to success for this Twisted Minds team, making it to those end games and then utilizing that experience together to clutch up in those scenarios where other teams just don't seem like they can put it together when they have all those members there. They, most of the time, will put that one together. And I think this Twisted Minds team, they just have such a good trio that trusts each other.
And they have to have that trust. It's imperative. Gorgo Knight, by the way, shout out to him. He hasn't played on LAN, at least from my knowledge, in a very long time. So for him to get up on the main stage in front of that crowd, granted, he knows what it is to be in front of a crowd. He knows it right to his core. He's been playing COD for so incredibly long, and he's been at the top echelon of COD play. But regardless, he's coming in and he's playing in spades. Team Zix, though, BSL's been a big narrative for us, right? Mainly because they've been challenging the likes of the Falcons in the past. But Team Zix at this point in time, hey, they're tearing it up. They almost eliminate BSL, and they're landing over at Stronghold.
Yeah, Zix are looking really good again. I think if you're underestimating this roster at this point, you really shouldn't be. This roster is doing such incredible things. They've looked good in World Series of Warzone recently. And, you know, they're challenging pretty much everybody. They're getting late into these games. Their positioning looks really, really good, and their early game does as well. I think quite crucially and quite funnily there towards the end of that game, they were the ones to eliminate Alula, which we were talking about, right? That kind of head-to-head scenario. We wanted to see Alula play well against them. They only had 2 games. Zix, I think, again, they've got 2 more after this. And I think for Zix to be the ones to take them out and effectively bat them away, it's quite poetic.
It is. I actually want to bring up a point to you, Ellen, because when I think about Team Zix, I've been pumping them up. They represent Falcons when it comes to World Series of Warzone. Obviously, Team Falcons this time around, representing for the club championship, is that Shifty Hisoka Biffle roster. but they like to land, at least Team Falcons in this tournament, like to land Stronghold. Team Zix is now landing Stronghold. There's a chance we see kind of Falcons on Falcons action.
Yeah, which would be amazing. But you know, one thing that you said that kind of like highlighted in my mind is like hesitation from some of these players. And I believe it was Omit where we saw Tenix kind of at the tower area, and then there was a knock, and I think Dandro said, "Hey," or somebody said, "Hey, you gotta go push.
Gotta go push.
You gotta help. You gotta help."
Yeah.
So I mean, for that confidence though, even from the Falcon squad, if you're gonna be contesting the other Falcons, you better make sure you have that confidence in those plays.
Go for the king, you don't miss.
That's it.
dude.
Yeah. But you know what? Alpha up. Who's the best Falcons team? Well, right now the Falcons are the best Falcons team. All right, Shippy, Ahsoka, and Biffle. Let's move in though towards our Sony MVP, and I'm curious who it is. Let's actually take a look, because from what I'm hearing, it's a familiar face, and it's Z Smith from Twisted Mind Seymour. He's the Sony MVP.
It all comes down to the points that Alan were making the other day. We saw him in the solos. He was playing very sound Warzone, waiting for those players, those solos to be isolated in those gunfights, taking advantage of those situations that were in front of him, and paving way for himself to get into those end games. And as soon as you put him into the trios, Alan, you said it, he's going to be leading this team in the end game to so many winnable situations.
Exactly. And you know what, though? In the solos, I love that you said that because of how well he was performing. He said, I'm channeling everything. He has the confidence. If you don't miss, don't lose, right? You guys have heard that for years. But for Z-Smith, having that confidence, it's carrying over. But with your teammates in hand, yes, taking over not only slaying power, but that late game IGL. Listen to me, he says. It's working.
I love that. Well, let's sober up a little bit, because now it's time to move into our standings. And unfortunately, we're going to see a couple of teams, I think, who are going to be eliminated today. We're looking at the bottom 7 to start off. And well, I'm hearing a bit of a yikes, but let's at least talk about it. Seymour, what do you notice?
I mean, Alula, 67 points, where, you know, Shift earlier was saying there's a threshold, and that threshold is looking to be around that 100-point marker where about Aizen and Team Destroy are sitting. It's not a good look to be that far down the leaderboard. Even outside of that number 14 spot, you're probably out.
Yeah, and while they aren't currently below that number 14 spot, we should point out that BSL are currently sitting at number 12 in Group A. They are done and dusted right now. They have to sit and wait and hope that the teams joining the next set of games will not get enough points to knock them below number 14 on the board. And again, we talk about that kind of magical 100-point threshold. Right now, they are well below it. So they're going to have every single appendix crossed.
Yeah, every single appendix crossed indeed. And I mean, even for some of those bubble teams, Cloud9 too needing to catch up. But for Omit securing that, that 14th spot, the 100-point threshold, as that Goj and Shift has mentioned, though, it was between Team Destroy and Izund. So even just being able to move up, solidify that, yeah, it's going to be tough for those bottom teams.
It's going to be tough indeed. And by the way, Team Zix sitting up there in 11th place, a team that's also on watch. They're just below that 100 points, and I mean just below it, sitting at 85-95, right? So my vision's not too good, to tell you the truth. So it's one of those. Regardless, though, being in 12th or 11th place, not a safe spot, especially, like I said, Stronghold if they start battling against Falcons.
Yeah, you're kind of just hoping there. If you're BSL, you're like, Falcons, take the wheel, just get all the points, make sure nobody can get anything right now.
You know what? I wanted to say something, though, about Stronghold. Onyx Ravens, right? They were contesting, at least in the beginning, BSL for a while. So you're seeing some of these these bottom half teams taking that confidence to fight that engagements, because if you can knock a top team out for those lower teams, that would be good for them, right? Then they can just, farm each other.
Farm each other. Not easy to do with some of them, but some, can maybe farm just a little bit. Well, there it is. That's 4 games down, 2 more to go, and now it's all about Group B versus Group C. The final 2 games of group play, the final chance to finish outside of that bottom 7, right? You want to be top 14 if you want to play for all the glory, not only the Warzone World Cup Championship, but also for the bulk of the $1 million. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, group play will continue.
لحظات البداية عاشت معنا. كنا نحسبها وقت للتسلية بس. نحسبها بس ذكريات.
عبود أعطي أختك اليد يا ولد.
ابتكرنا فيها ابتكارات، وإذا بغينا قلبناها خرافات. كنا نحسبها بس لمة وصحبة وسهرات.
انتبه نو ترى نو.
لكن كنا نشوف عالم ما حد يشوفه.
ليت يشغل وقته بشيء يفيده.
الله عليك على اليد سود.
عالم كبر وعاش فينا. عالم الحماس فيه يوصلك كل مرة لحلم أصعب، بس ما يصعب عليك. بارت معك وين ما تروح.
Confetti's got.
We're good.
Okay.
Where is your favorite drop spot on Rebirth Island?
I think we've claimed Control Center.
Ooh, okay.
It's just such a central part of the map, excluding Prison, obviously. We just
Sure.
think Prison is a bit more RNG in terms of fight, so I think we can control, if we control, it gives us a lot of map control and just like freedom to just be aggressive and
Okay, well, I'll be looking to see how that turns out here. Maybe we'll have some other teams who have the same idea. Hopefully you guys can come out on top with that.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Esports World Cup Call of Duty Warzone, the final two games of group play. We now go into Groups B versus Group C, the last chance to not be one of those bottom 7 teams who will be top 14 to move forward to tomorrow. I'm your host, Taylor Reflections Noble, joined by Dream Infinity and Seymour. And now things start to get serious, right? Group A, they're done with. We know some teams have already been eliminated. Sad to see them, but their keys are going to be smashed up. Now, let's talk about what needs to happen in these next 2 games. And Dream, I go to you for this. Let's talk about high risk versus high reward.
Yeah, I mean, well, you got these teams, right? Do you push a top team? Do you not? But what we have been seeing, I feel like today, is some of these teams kind of hesitating. But for others, we have seen the anchor players kind of stepping up, staying alive, and like the Slayers going out, especially Donkey.
Yeah, I mean.
But you know, for some of these teams, you got to just debate with yourselves, like, okay, do we push this squad? Do we back out? It's really going to be those in-game decisions that are just going to be super important, because this is it.
This is it, right? And Na'Vi, let's talk about them, because they've been getting some good second places, but Na'Vi as a whole, will they be able to finally get first, right? A team that is just on the cusp.
I mean, Na'Vi, I think, are looking to be pretty set after the Group A finishes.
That's right.
I think, you know, you look at, I'm just going to say it right here, you just saw Zeppa. He said he controls Control Center, and they looked like they controlled Control Center. They don't get a win for sure, but they still have another day. They should have secured their spot in tomorrow, and I think that Na'Vi is definitely a team that is aiming for even more now.
Without question, Na'Vi's been looking incredible, and in fact, let's talk about an incredible person, Pocket, who had a chance to talk to Na'Vi. Let's hear what they had to say.
It's Puckett here on the stage, and Group A is done for the group stages. Now, you guys don't know exactly where you're at on the leaderboard. This is the first time you're seeing it. I took a screenshot for you. You can go ahead and hold that, pass it around.
Okay. That's not bad, that's not bad.
Second place. Did you think you'd be that high on the leaderboard?
Yeah, of course.
Now, you said before this that you think with 2 more maps being played,
Yeah.
that you could potentially fall. How far do you think you could fall down that list?
7th at worst, I reckon. Probably 5th, 6th, or 7th. Or maybe we stay up like 4th. Yeah.
We're in line. I think we stay top 5.
Yeah.
Top 5. Top 5? Yeah, top 5.
So should we celebrate the fact that you guys are playing for $1 million tomorrow?
Nah, job's not done.
Job's not done. How we feeling though?
I'm feeling great, you know what I mean? No one remembers the route, they only remember the win, so.
You guys were so close to taking one of those maps. You're always in the top 5, it seems, so far. How are you staying so consistent?
I mean, honestly, I think we're really harsh on ourselves. We should have probably won both those maps. We definitely put ourselves in the position to win both of them. So we're pretty mad that we came second both maps.
And keep it real with me. Who's the toughest competition so far out of the groups you've played?
I'd say Falcons and these boys over here, Fnatic.
Fnatic. Speaking of Fnatic, we'll be catching up with them in just a minute. Congrats, Navi.
Appreciate it.
Nice job, boys.
Thank you for the interview, Puckett. Navi saying the job's not done yet, right? I like that because it's not. You have to still make it to tomorrow, and then you have to obviously capitalize on tomorrow's games. All 8 games. You want the championship, you're going to have to play hard because we've already seen some of the top dogs rise up. And Navi, by the way, and a ton of esports played out throughout the World Cup. Esports World Cup, they're going for that club championship. We've talked about teams who might be taking some points away. Abwiz is one of them who's been, at the upper echelon of conversation throughout all days, including even the solo play. But a team that's also been doing well today is Twisted Minds. Twisted Minds, 2 wins, right? Not only yesterday, but today when it comes to group play. Seymour, I know you've had a lot to say about Twisted Minds, and I appreciate that too. But now let's have Infinity have a little bit of moment himself. Aiden, right, coming into the forefront. Gorgo Knight, looking incredibly strong. I mean, these guys, they're doing it all.
I mean, it's just like Seymour already said, right? I mean, the fact of the matter is this is not the first time this composition of players has come together and had success. And going back towards that CDLR, as I remember it, I think they were perfectly fine with kills. Just getting consistent high placement was their issue. And it is worth saying, I do think to a certain extent, the same thing is happening here. They've had those 2 wins, which is awesome. Great job, Twisted Minds. But they have also had a couple of games where they are falling in the mid game and not being able to get all the way up towards the top. And I'm not too sure where they are right now in the standings, but I don't think they're quite with the big boys just yet. So if they can get that consistency down, if they can get late into the games and then, of course, get those dubs and the high kills, they are absolutely a contender. They have to be to take the entirety of the Esports World Cup.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Well, the good news is that, I mean, even if they're not like in top 3, right, conversation, they're still in top 14. So big adjustments could be made tomorrow. And honestly, I don't even think they really need to make big adjustments, in my opinion, to going into tomorrow.
It's even the fact that, like, you guys all picked the same orgs to win. I'm the only one rooting for Twisted Minds here.
Smart, dude. I don't know what you want from us.
What do you mean? Only Goj and I picked Falcons. You guys are delusional.
I'm the only one who chose Twisted Minds, and they're riding it out to the very end.
And they're doing great. Hey, but Fnatic 2 is also looking good. Twisted Minds, though, they're absolutely incredible. In fact, let's actually hear from Twisted Minds. We've got an interview set up with them. Let's hear what they had to say.
Welcome back to the STC Arena, where I am joined by Twisted Minds, your winners of map number 4 in our day of eliminations. I'm going to come to you first, Knight. Buddy, we kind of talk about survival being the theme of today, but you guys are feeling pretty comfortable at this point, I think. So it looks like you're just having a good time. How are you feeling so far?
We had a great time today. 9-day difference from yesterday. We went from survival to slaying.
Survival to slaying. I like that. We can write that on the shirt somewhere. That's cool. Smith, how you doing, man? You good?
Doing great. Doing great.
Nice. Okay, so I just wanted to talk to you about today's kind of approach, because a lot of teams are coming in today all out aggression, or maybe playing a bit tactically to try and get that multiplier if they manage to win a game. What did you guys come in with, and what did you anticipate your opponents would do?
Honestly, I don't think we really changed up our game at all. I think today's we're just in a better headspace, and I feel like if you try to change up your game and not play with confidence, it's just going to change everything. And we said it last night, like as soon as we all got together, we're just going to lock in and play the same way and just play our game, and it's just working a lot better today.
You are Mr. Confident, man. That's every single interview we've had. Confidence, confidence, confidence. I love it.
You can't hesitate. If you don't have confidence, you can lose every time.
That is true. That is very true. Aiden, what's going on, man? Where are the sleeves?
I'm feeling good. Listen, I'm trying out different outfits each day, seeing what works best. Yesterday, I had the Twisted Mind sleeves. Today, I'm trying them off. Tomorrow, I'm probably going to throw the Twisted Mind joggers on. So I'm mixing it up.
Okay, because yesterday you were going ham about everyone needs a pair of sleeves. This is the one. But you know what? You're still winning without them. So maybe it's just you. Maybe it's not the sleeves.
Yeah, it might just be me.
Now, you know what? I've spoken to many teams over the past few years that I've been in this kind of game, and you know what? A lot of people have different answers for this. But do you guys have any pre-match rituals? I've spoken to people before, and they've said that they have to wear a certain type of shoes, a certain pair of socks, or they have to hug their cat in between games. That was a bit of a weird one. What about you guys?
That's crazy. Honestly, I just get a little bit of caffeine in the system, get energized, and just try to keep the vibes up, just mess around a little bit, try not to take it too serious as we're going in, and that's what I do.
Knight, I hear that that you like a bit of 80s rock, am I right?
Yeah, I like to throw in some Journey, you know, sip on my caffeine, and that's how I get cracked personally. It works for me.
I love that. And Smit just has enough confidence, that's fine. But don't stop believing, Knight. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me in this post-match interview. Congratulations on map 4. Guys, we're going to throw it back to the studio to continue our elimination day.
Thank you for the interview, Barney Banks over at the STC Arena, talking to Twisted Minds, a team that is pretty much confirmed to move forward to tomorrow alongside that of Falcons as well as Na'Vi. But now let's talk about a team, unfortunately, whose run has officially come to an end, and I'm very sad to say it's actually Jukies and his crew, right? Team Alula. They have officially been eliminated. Their key will be crushed, and whoever wants to use it for their trophy, well, they've got the opportunity to do so. Alula, a team that came in, was much hyped up, but unfortunately just didn't make it happen. Dream. Jukies, a great competitor, still trying to make World Series of Warzone Global Finals along with this roster, of course, including FIFA Kill, but they gave it their best effort.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, and, you know, having to go through the LCQs too as well. I mean, this was maybe a little bit of a morale booster still just to get the environment in, but they have to be, you know, a little bit disappointed, but still, nonetheless, they're still great competitors in their own right, and I believe they will bounce back no matter what.
I think so, and I will say this, for what it's worth, even making it to this stage, competing in Saudi Arabia here in Riyadh, competing at the Esports World Cup, the first ever official Esports World Cup, is a big feat in itself, right? There were 7 teams who were going to be eliminated. The competition was stacked. They were one of the best, but Infinity, you know, it is what it is. Still great competitors.
Yeah, and I think the thing is as well, you have to remember the fact that they are playing with Tommy for this tournament, right?
That's
That is not their usual teammate whatsoever, and that has to change things quite a lot in terms of communication, which has already been an issue, I think, for Jukies and Lennon in World Series of Warzone. So honestly, I think they gave it their best shot. They had the right strategy coming in. They just could not pull it off.
And another narrative, by the way, just to point it out that we'll talk more about it tomorrow, but with Tommy eliminated now officially from the tournament, it opens up the door for several others to take over the top earning spot when it comes to Warzone earnings. A conversation we'll have tomorrow, but now I want to focus on, as we're like just very close to getting into the game, I want to talk about the teams that are now officially in the danger zone. 2 more games left. First off, we're going to talk about Gladiators. Gladiators, a team that's at the bottom right now, but they are looking to make it up. They just need 2 great games.
Yeah, that's it. 2 great games, and hopefully some of those top teams getting knocked out earlier, third-partied. But for them, yes, this is it. They have to pop off.
They have to.
No mistakes. No mistakes?
No mistakes. I believe in Huskers. He's on that redemption arc. Cloud9, also a team that's on the come up.
You know, we had that conversation about who's the best sniper in North America. Is it Huskers? Is it Breadman? Well, we're going to see here in this game because they're going to be in the same lobby and they're going to be fighting for the same positions. And yeah, Cloud9, I just don't think it's gone so well for them the last couple of games. We said coming into today, we wanted to see more of the last 2 games from yesterday. And you're looking at the placements from the last couple of games, 11th and 7th respectfully. They're still sitting at 41.6 points. That is nowhere near that 100-point threshold. We need about 30 points per game to get them into the final day.
That's right. Well, looking here, Seymour, I see a team at number 13, Team Vitality, barely hanging on just in top 14.
Yeah, 74 points. It's not looking very strong for Team Vitality, and they go into the same discussion as AG Global with a team that's very good at big map, but struggling with the resurgence side. And for Team Vitality, who everybody, you know, different nationality, different language barrier for the 3 of them, it's really noticeable towards the end of these games when you're in resurgence, when there's just that block off where teams normally know exactly what to do when they do it together. You're seeing Team Vitality, they're separating, they're doing 3 different things. You just need to see that cohesiveness come into play for these next couple games.
And I will say just real quick, Team Zix, another team that is looking to make it into the top 14, currently sitting in 11th place. The conversation becomes a bit interesting, though. Do they get challenged by the Falcons over in Stronghold? A lot of questions to be answered and 2 games left to decide who will be our top 14, who will join Alula in the bottom 7. All that and more to be answered, and we will be answering that shortly. Let's head into it. Game number 5 of the day. Casters, take it away.
Welcome back to the main stage where just 2 maps remain before our 14 teams are finally decided to go into the finals for tomorrow. The groups B and C are currently setting up right now behind us, so we have a little bit of information for those of you at home. A huge upset for many fans who are huge fans of these guys, that Al Ula, which is Tommy, Jukies and Lennon, are now out of the competition, Milosh.
Yeah, but good news, everyone, because Falcons, Twisted Mind, and Na'Vi are pretty much set for the finals. I won't bore you with the math, but it's basically unless the sky falls down on our heads, we'll be fine. But, Barney, 2 more games to go. That's it. We got 14 teams that need to make it in tomorrow. 7 will be knocked out. We have reached the boiling point. So it's do or die. Our game is ready. Our players are set. Let's toss it to our casters.
Thank you so much, Stage. Man, I love this. We are truthfully, I love the boiling point metaphor. There's 1,000 things we could talk about at the end of the day. This is truly the knockout round. This is all she wrote. Yep. This is everything on the table. You have 2 games to keep your life in this tournament alive. Otherwise, you're getting crushed. That key is out of here, and it's going to the bottom of somebody else's trophy.
That's, again, what a cool idea for a trophy. So sick. The other part about this is not only do we have some teams that are sitting here on stage needing to put together maybe even games that are better than their average. If your team Eisen to destroy, you may not have fingernails left sitting in the audience chewing on them, waiting to see what happens with those other squads that are on the bubble.
It's truthfully one of the hardest positions to be in. It's frankly why I think I would prefer Group C if I was playing. You play your 4 games in a row. You don't have to leave anything kind of up to chance. You did destroy. They played their 4. They're at 98 points. Our projected average, our projected threshold is 100 points. They are right there on the bubble. Yes, the leaderboard says they're in 9th, but you got to remember 2 more games. This leaderboard is going to dramatically change over the course of these next 2 games. We're going to have a really good idea of where we're at after this next one. But you're right, Eisen, Destroy waiting in the wings. Team Heretics looking really strong, right in 10th place right now, 94.4. Theoretically, they need like 6 points over the next 2 games.
Yeah, and that should be pretty much guaranteed. The teams that we really need to keep our eyes on, though, are Team Vitality, Amit, New Icons, and Onyx Ravens. In particular, those first 3 are all right there. But the thing that's interesting about it is they need to hit or beat their usual average per drop if they want to jump up above that 100-point threshold. Vitality in particular at 74.6, they need to put together a good drop. The thing about it is they only had a couple in the history of the last couple of matches.
If there's anything about that Team Vitality that I know, is that it's one of the longest standing trios in the game. A German, a Latvian, a Finlander come together. Yeah. They've been playing together for years. If anybody can do it, I know that they can. And I know Enigma is off at the wings cheering them on. That's his pick to win it all. So they got to piece it all together here in the next 2 maps. But a couple more teams we got to talk about. I mean, they're out of here, right? We've already seen that. That's been noted. They're below the 14-point threshold. I'm looking at Heretics. They only need a couple points.
They should be fine.
They should be totally fine. They've been incredibly consistent. They just need about 6. So you have a wide array of varying degrees of like nervousness in the last 2 maps. Some need a crazy amount, some just a few points.
Well, the interesting thing about that Heretics conversation is they're coming off of a dead last placing with just 1 kill. You don't want to let that happen again. But in these last 2 drops, what we're going to be kind of looking at from a narrative point is your outlier. Was it 1 bad map? Or was your outlier 1 good map? Yeah. Because you have to be able to be consistent in these last 2. You cannot afford to have another bad drop if you're any of those previously mentioned squads getting ready for these last 2 games, especially needing to put together 2 absolutely solid drops of around 15 points or so per drop.
Yeah, and frankly, I mean, I know we have the Falcons back in the building, but the only reason I even want to pay attention to them, because they're at the top of the leaderboard with 2 free maps, right, is because they might be contesting Team Zix, who is not in the contention at the top. They are right there on the bubble. They need about 10 some odd points to be somewhat comfortable. They would like a lot more than that, but if there's any team that can completely chalk your competition, it's this team. And this team tried to drop on at least part of the Falcons last year at World Series of Warzone, and they got obliterated for it. So it's like, run away from Shifty, maybe change up your drop spot. I don't know. He's the top slayer for a reason.
Yeah, and it's one of those situations where Zix has played a very wild settle drop so far, because you're right, it is one of those situations that in these particular matchups, they find themselves fighting the Falcons all the time. Previously, when they're playing in their most recent 2 drops, they often fight teams like Na'Vi all the time. So they're really just squaring up with the big Goliath and seeing if the slingshot hits truly in the middle of the face.
Now, the difference about that Zix squad this time around is they've been practicing. They have been putting in the work. 30 some odd custom tournaments leading up to this. They are prepared, and it's showing. Again, right on that threshold, just need a couple points. Now, I got to turn my eyes towards Amit. You talked about him before. Yep. We actually heard Seymour break down their entire team, their history, these Puerto Rican squad, picked up by Amit. I think it's T-Nix that's been a part of Amit for over a year now as a content creator, competitor. This trio is good. Yep. They're not great, not yet, right? No. They need an average amount of points over the next couple of games. Our average is around 12 points per game. 24 points would put them up to 98, right at where Destroy is at. So just a hair above average, and they might make.
And they play a really weird strategy. When we were rewatching the games from yesterday, Amit would often just have one player fly into the water all the way out beyond the ship and just sit there until the respawns are closed. Everyone else just drops in, tries to find kills. Now, the thing about that is it's guaranteed them some pretty decent finishes where they've been able to get multipliers, but their kill tally is not up to snuff. That has to be different, especially from T-Nix.
See, the big question for the Omit squad in my mind is T-Nix as the anchor. He has been hanging out in Lighthouse the entire game looking for snipes, and frankly isn't getting very many.
Yeah, that's fair.
So the question is, when do you call him out of Light? I think you call him out of Lighthouse way earlier. Like, I think you say, hey, you've got to play together as a team, especially if this map doesn't go well. If this map is below average, he's got to come out of the Lighthouse and they got to swing. This is high risk, high reward. I expect us to be at around 9 to 10 teams after the second circle, not the third.
Yep. And I think just, again, to reestablish some narrative points that favor Amit, they are one of the teams that have one bad map as their outlier. Everything else has been right around that top 8 placement. So I think if you're CEO Rafi, you're probably happy to hear that with your chances of just don't do that again. You should be okay. A different team, though, in terms of outliers on the other side, Cloud9. They had a great finish to yesterday. Not a great first 2 maps here, and they have to put together some white whale maps if they want to have a way to get into the top 14.
Look, some of our talent is just shaking in the back. We got Vitality on the fridge. We got Dangerous Cloud9 down in the dumps. I mean, 19th currently right now. Now, is it possible for this trio? Sure. They are a long-storied trio, maybe not together, but at least playing in Warzone tournaments. I mean, they've been competing for years now, and all 3 are really talented, but together, something's not working in Resurgence. So what I'm looking for is I need Bread to take control and get his team moving. They have not been able to stabilize today. It's been Jace and Joe trying to farm kills. Jace had a much better last map, but the problem was Joe wasn't able to get a ton of kills. Together as a duo, you see it from Shifty and Biffle often. They get sent out by Hisoka and they farm kills. This Joe-Jace duo is not playing together, at least not perfectly, and because of that, they're falling early.
I think the only moment, though, you look at Cloud9 and say, well, hold on a second, is Jace is playing better today. But, like you mentioned as well, Breadman as an anchor, you also wanted to be involved in terms of team fighting because he puts down damage. You know he's going to be able to get things going with an opening snipe, and that frees up the rest of the team to hopefully fly forward. But if you're staggered between those first 2 frontliners, then yeah, Bread really can't do anything besides lay prone inside of Water Tower and wait for his teammates to parachute back in. So the name of the game for teams like that are you have to start strong and hold that condition through when we get to the respawns disabling at the end of the 3rd circle.
Well, talking about the Fringe, new icons, Onyx Ravens, it's wild to say these 2 teams could qualify today. They are definitely in contention. They definitely can put up enough points. Onyx Ravens need sizably more than new icons. It is worth mentioning. 57 points in total, which means they need about 43 in the last 2 maps. Is that possible for them? Yes, we've seen them win. The question is how many kills can they get this time around? Both of these teams got last and second to last in the solo seeding, but they're showing out in the group stages at least enough to be in the conversation. I am so excited to get to the last 2 maps. So many storylines, so many places for people to drop, and some likely falling early.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This one drop right here could essentially put you out of the running or maybe thrust you into the conversation towards being safe, which is massive, especially for those teams that find themselves on 80 points. Get your 15 here, put yourself in a good spot just to find a couple of kills and hopefully make it to tomorrow. But at the same rate, outside of just getting yourself past the bubble, could we potentially have a new favorite for the overall tournament? Obviously, a lot of attention on what Falcons can continue to do with their first 2 wins and their 2 drops. Can they keep that hot streak running? We're about to find out.
Yes, some of these teams, they're battling for a spot. Some of these teams are going to showcase to the world that no worries, no question, we're going to be at the top tomorrow. Here it is, map number 5 is ready. We're dropping into Rebirth Island, and I could not be more excited.
And again, the teams to keep your eye on. You're looking at teams teams like Omit, number 11 in orange. New Icons, number 13 in that lovely soft shade of lavender. Onyx Ravens, 14 in that maroon brownish color. And Cloud9, number 4 in light blue. Keep your eyes open for that, as we got Omit already playing in the map, which is different than what we saw from moments yesterday.
Always dropping HQ, not changing drop spots, not yet. They just need average points across the board. Speaking of average, Lost taking down one of our average teams this time around. Clapper, Zekar getting eliminated immediately. Another team that needs a big couple games. They're down next to Cloud9. They need to make a move, and they need to make a move now. And right now, it's not going well because, well, guess who's making the moves already? Heretics. We expected it. We're seeing it. They're likely already there.
Yeah, they should be pretty comfortable to make their way in towards tomorrow, which is, again, super impressive for them. Omit, a couple of kills here early. That's on to Noobs to at least finish off one for a guaranteed point. But the bigger part about this is they've got the rest of Gladiators around. And to put it frankly, Gladiators have been kind of farmed in these early games. You need to see them just exist, survive, and hopefully take more even battles. And that could cause some problems for Omit if they do turn up.
Well, Team Vitality is all the way up in bio by themselves. No one's even stirring in the bioweapons area. They're going to be hanging out for a long time up there, but Mojo's team on the move as expected. Onyx Ravens, they got to make a move. Guess who's falling?
Yeah.
It's 4NGs. Cloud9 can't get anything going. Joe has finally tried to somewhat restabilize on top of this building by himself, just giving his team enough legs to stay in the competition for a moment and finally shooting back. But the problem is you got 2, 3, 4 players around. Nina's not going to take no for an answer.
Yeah, that looked like a moment where Joe may have gotten the snap because Nina's was caught on the mantle for a moment, but the health pool not fully reestablished. Joe able to get the self-revive up, but he should be chased down by the Onyx Ravens. A couple of plates do get placed, and whoa, not the greatest movement here from Nanus, and well, Joe tried to jump on in to see if he can isolate the 1v1. Not going to work, and this is what we talked about. Breadman just has to sit on top of Water Tower and wait.
As much as I want to talk about Breadman's camping, it's all about Omit slaying. We've got to do it, and we got to do it now. We lose Elo, but only for 3 seconds. JTech, Teenix in a bit of trouble, backing up and split from each other, by the way, so JTech can't play too aggressive here. A couple players flying back in, but he is fine. Here comes Teenix looking for a couple eliminations. They're going to be jockeying with Fnatic this entire map, and they have to take them out not only for the points, but also for position.
And you want to talk about what Fnatic has done well through this tournament? Control the high ground around prison. They have essentially dropped in and gotten that for free, and once the circle starts to shrink, they set up a Bermuda Triangle that you just don't want to wander into. So Fnatic playing for position, it's worked for them so far, it's working for them again here now.
Already top slaying teams thus far. It's got to be Heretics. Method Squad up at 5 eliminations already. They are moving on their merry way well into the grand finals, I can only expect. As Breadman is out, Cloud9 is eliminated. An utter breakdown on main stage. You hate to see it. You love the content. Unfortunately, can't quite put the competition together today, as Elo also will fall. Cloud9 would need a monstrous effort in the last map, and I can only expect that is not going to be the case.
No, it feels like that is probably done and dusted for Cloud9. I mean, they would have to get, what, like 60 points off of one win, so they need 30 kills in a win, which has not been touched yet by just about anybody, including the Falcons, who have put together some high kill tallies. So not looking good for those boys. Now, over to the other part of the conversation here as we head down over towards Team 6. Vision Squad is not technically out of it. They're having a good start, 5 kills to this point in total, and more around the area. This is the Heretic squad that's a bit split, so they're going to have an opportunity to kind of win this left side of the map and maybe do some more damage.
Well, this is what we wanted Cloud9 to do. They're right next to each other on the leaderboard, 18th and 19th, nearly identical points. One has fully been eliminated. One is nearly the top slaying team thus far. They have to keep moving, though. They don't have enough points to sit back and play for multipliers. Go get your kills. And here's Teenix up in the tower, 0 eliminations, team dying down below. They're trying to do that 2v1 strat and just not working, not perfectly, not yet, but he has to stay alive for his team to get them back into the lobby.
And there's some vying for positioning around headquarters right now, but keep your attention over towards the northeast side by Chem and Bioweapons, because there's a couple of squads that are seeing each other and trying to figure out how they want to wrap back in. And they're going to get in safely here. But the question is, how do they get closer and closer to prison? There's a buy station kind of on their way, so there is an opportunity once these respawns close for them to maybe use that, but there's going to be a lot of battles just outside that Industries prison area.
I feel bad for my boys on Vitality. They were free and clear, but anytime you feel safe, guess who's lurking? It's Oki, just ruining their day, moving all the way around the edge of the map. This AB Wiz squad has surprised a lot of folks with their slaying power, and they've been hunting the safe quote-unquote teams on the edge of the map that feel safe, feel comfortable. They come swinging in at Mach 10. All three together, by the way. One of the only teams that plays all three together nearly the entirety of the map.
Yeah, and they're hunting down these kills for Vitality, who, again, is one of our bubble teams, and Wiz is able to take down Exian. So great start here in terms of AB Wiz continuing to find themselves top the leaderboard. Bad news if you're a Vitality fan, as all the last three members are going to be completely split from one another. Not great news for them, so not overall what you want to see. Back over towards the Gladiators. A better start for them so far to this point, but still trying to find some good position as Amit is around the area. You also got teams like number 9 and AG Global that are trying to float their way over and in towards this prison area as well.
Surprisingly, I was wrong about the amount of teams fully eliminated. These teams won a ton of points, but they're not going high risk, high reward. They're still playing this tried and true strategy. Maybe only the last map will they full send. Elo in trouble, 1v2, no chance, out of here. JTech gone as well. Yet again, it's Tnux up in the tower, I can only presume, waiting, watching, getting his teammates back onto the map, and hopefully they can find some better success the next time around. This team, another squad, all moving together.
Yeah, and you know, Guild really has shown up in a great way. They didn't have a great start to yesterday, but they really put together a couple of great games in a row. First and a second place back-to-back. Now looking pretty strong in terms of total kills plus positioning in this one. And another bubble watch team, Onyx Ravens. How could they possibly find their way in? One member dropped at the moment. LX is going to be able to get themselves back into the picture, surely. Only 3 total kills, though, for Onyx Ravens. They're not the slayest, or the heaviest of slaying teams, rather, I should say. So they need to find some way to get some kills and get a good position if they want to have a Miracles run.
Falcons in one of the probably hottest waters they've been in thus far. Ahsoka in trouble by himself. Biffle just barely spawned in time. Falcons, of course, fully safe, but they want to add an emphasis. They want to add that exclamation point to their performance thus far. They want to win it all, and right now they're poised to do so. But Biffle has been flying back in for a while, is floating way over to the edge of the map, just trying to stay alive. We swing back to our Crim squad, shooting at them, still alive, right on that edge.
And this next rotation is going to be a dicey one. Vitality back with all 3 members, have Onyx Ravens top right-hand side of the map. Both will be fine to get into this next circle as it moves really not too far. It's an even split, so there is no slow or fast side for really anyone at the moment. It just comes down to who do you read around you and what gunfights do you want as we keep going up towards prison.
Omit versus Zix. 2 teams on the threshold, one team needing a lot more points than the other. Zix only needing about 10-2, Omit needing about 26-2, and Elo gets gunned. 3v2, will they push the equation or wait? Like staying patient, here comes Crims, moving up, looking for an elimination from above. Tnux is off his HQ, Tnux is out of his tower and gets punished. It's now JTech trying to keep his team in this. They look frustrated, but the job's not done, gentlemen. Keep pushing.
Yeah, and Gladiators heard all of that. We're looking down upon that from top headquarters, and it looked like they may actually try to dive in for a third party, but Fnatic was watching them. So it's a little bit of you watching, me watching him situation for those squads towards the bottom side of the map. As we head back over towards Zix, still trying to deal with a little bit of rotation issues as now all of a sudden Heretics are in the picture and Cams will take down Crims. Hamoud essentially has to commit to this one way or the other. His teammate behind will anchor, but they need to rotate here soon. Next circle coming to a close in 5 seconds.
Heretics have been this gorilla just swatting people out of trees constantly. They're consistently playing spoiler to any team trying to get anything going. This Heretic squad surprising a lot of folks on the map and at home. Very well done thus far. But new icons, they need a big one. Another team way down at the bottom in solo has been performing fairly strong in groups. This is also one of those teams that has a couple hot games and a lot of cold games as well. They get hot one more time, they might make.
They're hot right now. 9 kills, all 3 members still alive. Just a little bit of battle on rotation to get in towards that HQ position around Factory. As we head back into prison, AG Global, really a disappointing group stage for them to this point, trying to find a way to work their way through, and Zdark has done well. 7 individual kills for him. AG Global not able to put together much besides Zdark, though. That's going to give them 10 in total, so they got a long way to go, but this is already looking pretty decent, but the Thermite causing a problem. Castillo following up will make sure Noobs cannot confirm the kill, and AG Global will stay alive with 2 members.
Welcome to the game, AG Global. Might be too little too late. We'll see. They got to do it again next map, and they need the multiplier. We still have 13 teams remaining. Color me surprised.
Yeah.
I did not expect to see this. These teams not necessarily playing scared, strategic, what have you. They're not full sending. They just need average points if they're in the middle of the board. Teams at the bottom, AG Global, they got to keep sprinting around this map. But Here's Mojo. Here's the Onyx Ravens. They're still alive. They've been doing a good job of this. They're right inside the circle, right on the edge, trying to make a move here shortly.
And the interesting battle here is the fact that you've got Vitality potentially fighting right over the middle, Respawn fully disabled. So all these engagements down towards the bottom side of prison and over towards headquarters about to get absolutely nasty. And I was about to say, we haven't said anything about Falcons lately. They were almost nearly full wipe, but they've been quiet looting up. They are back full 3, and you know what they like to do late game. They're a major threat, and they're looking to chase down kills.
Resurgence closed. It is not all quiet on the Western Front. There's still 13 teams remaining in this lobby. We do lose one. That's Patzuka out of here, gone, off the lobby. Only one more to go. Watch out. They need a banger on the next one to maintain their position. But we head to Clapper and Rocket down near the bottom of the leaderboard. They needed a big map here to make sure they're staying in contention. And right now, it's just J-Tech lurking below. Have you ever seen that seal meme where it's just spinning around, floating? Yeah, I've seen this once before. We're seeing it again. J-Tech is not going to take any chances.
Yeah, they're just playing for positioning at this point. Not a lot of kills, though. Just 4 for Amit. So this has not been a great game for them. As you look back over the mini-map again, keep your eye on that right side of prison. You've got a quick rotation from Onyx on the way in. They find themselves some safety. But we got a huge collection of teams over towards the right-hand side. Amit does eventually get taken down. J-Tech falls. They will finish with just 4 kills outside of any major multiplier. Not a great game here for Amit.
Rocket out. 3 teams right on the threshold being eliminated left, right, and center as the Falcons begin their tear in this map. It came a little bit later than usual, but this time it looks a lot like the first couple maps. Biffle on a tear, Shifty carrying, and Nina's Mojo in trouble but still alive. I won't even call it barely breathing. They were able to keep everyone alive as Gladiator's being torn off screen. This Onyx Raven squad still has a chance. They need at least top 8. They need their multipliers. We're not into a multiplier yet.
Yeah, but the thing about it is there's chaos over towards prison, and that's the fast side of the circle coming up here. It's going to be wide out in the open. There's barely going to be even a shred of buildings to play off of with this next circle coming up. So this battle, this rotation is everything. AG Global done and dusted, and wouldn't you know it, it's Team 6 putting together again a little bit of a hot streak here as you try to rotate into circle number 5.
Oh, I feel so bad for the AG Global squad. They had 15 eliminations but did not net a multiplier. It's just too little, too late without some extra math on top of it. Gladiators out in 8th. They got some multiplier. The question is how many kills? Probably not enough, not yet. We've got Nina's, Mojo, Onyx Ravens on the edge. They're playing their PDS play. I assume they would do this because they don't have a clear path. There's 3-4 teams ahead of them. They're making a wide wrap to New Circle. The only team that might beat them there is the Falcons and AB Wiz. AB Wiz is there. AB Wiz is there to play spoiler. Can the Onyx Ravens push and take down one of our top teams?
The smoke cover is so good. Nainus, he may be trying to play as a little bit of bait here. See if he can pull out some of these members for AB Wiz who had them just the PDS down low on the staircase. Mojo LX still alive as we lose Zixed and co. So now it's just out of the final 4. Circle still being fought for is really no one wants to go out into the open. You've got Onyx Ravens just looking for cover wherever they can find it, and it's the front left tire of the truck.
The reason you don't want to be here, the problem is you're going to get pinched by 3-4 teams as they rotate in. We're down to 4, and they're all going to shoot you if you're not careful. So Imlich knows he has to push. He has to make the flank, and he finds one. Great points on the board, but you need more. You're into the top 5. You get the 1.4x multiplier. You're looking for 1.7. You got to get second place. To get second place at this point by nearly just yourself, you've got to make a heroic play against Abwiz, and Abwiz knows that he is hiding in the corner behind the pipes. Everybody wants second. It is all too elusive, and Imlich is not leaving it up for a chance.
Dude, this is great from Onyx. They're actually split here and in a position to crossfire the remaining members for Falcons, who find themselves trying to find out where exactly are these guys. Once again, playing inside, a little bit of cover through the gas, but they have no clue where the Onyx Ravens are. Mobile buy station out. Shifty's going to be able to get back Biffle, and all 3 Falcons will drop in. It's just down to what can the Onyx Ravens do from these individual positions.
Onyx Ravens a local, Team Falcons a local, and unfortunately the Falcons tear them down. They celebrate another victory. Couple key points here, Shift. Falcons have not lost today. They have not lost a map today. 3 maps played for Team Falcons. They are undefeated in our knockout round. When their backs are against the wall and everything counts, they do not lose.
Dude, the thing about it is, and maybe we can just put it out there on the air and ask for the request from Brody or Seymour, how do they regain after being down to Biffle flying in, barely makes the threshold on the respawn to get to be full fighting condition. They're so darn patient. As soon as they get to that circle number 3, if we're in trouble, don't take any fights. Get ourselves looted up. See if we can get some cash. See if we can get our loadouts back. Then when they do, let's get in position and let's rip everyone apart.
One more point about this team is exactly what you mentioned. They're nearly unkillable. Unkillable and unwipable. You see it in Big Map, you see it in Resurgence. It doesn't matter what map we're playing. They're so difficult to fully take down. And this is what every team talks about when they're facing Team Falcons. They say, how do we full kill them? We see one down, we have to swing on them. And you swing on them, you get punished in a 2v3. You just lose.
Yeah.
And frankly, right now, it looks like everybody's losing to the Falcons. But we got to turn our eyes to the Onyx Ravens.
Yep.
They had a sizable game there. This time, a few more kills, double-digit eliminations. They're well above the average. The question is it going to be enough going into the last game? They've got to do it again. But a 1.7x multiplier was massive, and it was on the back of Imlix. They made a huge flank play on AB Wiz and completely broke down that team.
Yep, and that's what we need to see in terms of how do you possibly win out these odd man situations late game, catch someone by surprise, especially when you know for a fact, you do the math, hey, there's still a full team of 3 out there somewhere. When do I want to make the play? How can I possibly be the first